sellout crowd, nearly 60,000 at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh on a hot, muggy afternoon as these two great old rivals, the Steelers and Browns, get together. Chuck Noll, who was born in Cleveland, back for his 21st year as Steeler head coach, nearly lost his job a year ago after winning only 5 games. And Bud Carson, who was born near Pittsburgh in his first season as head coach of the Cleveland Browns. This is the 79th time these two teams have met, and the Browns have won the last 6 in a row. Gary Anderson is set to kick off for the Steelers. And the Browns, who won the toss, will receive with Oliphant standing down near the goal line. Here's Anderson with the kick. Oliphant, midway through the end zone, will down it there. So the Browns will begin at their own 20-yard line. Let's take a look at the starting base offensive lineup for the Browns. On the offensive line, 2-time Pro Bowl tackle Cody Rison battling a knee injury. He didn't practice all this week. The Browns begin with this lineup in the backfield. Kosar, the 6th active passer in the NFL. Newsome, the top receiving tight end in NFL history, back for his final season. When the Browns go to 4 wide receivers, Newsome and Jones go out. Brennan and McNeil come in. First down play for Bernie Kosar. Manoah and Jones, the split backs. Brennan in motion. And Kosar with a pass for 5 yards to Webster Slaughter. He's driven back to about the 24-yard line by Dwayne Woodruff. Here's the Pittsburgh defense now, the base 3-4 defensive lineup. Willis is back after missing all of 1988. Little among the linebackers, the top tackler last year. In the secondary, Woodson developing into a top player. Rookie Carnell Lake from UCLA gets a start in his first pro game. Passing situations, the Steelers go to their dime defense. That'll give them 6 defensive backs. 2nd and 6. Eric Metcalf into the game for the Browns, the rookie. And he's sent to the right. And Metcalf makes a diving catch for a first down. Carnell Lake, the rookie, being picked on by Bernie Kosar. And it was Eric Metcalf in his first play as a pro, Joe, making an excellent catch.
Excellent catch, a good pass by Kosar because he was under good pressure that time from Keith Willis and Greg Lloyd. Kosar never ceases to amaze me. The man knows where to go with the ball, and he is accurate as you can find.
Tom Hammond is joining the Three Rivers Stadium. Opening game of the season. Metcalf again. This moves to the 35-yard line. Gain of about 3 before Carnell Lake, the 2nd-round draft choice for the Steelers out of UCLA, where he was an All-American linebacker, makes the stop.
Now, I like what Cleveland's doing. They're putting Metcalf out wide and forcing Carnell Lake, the former linebacker at UCLA, now the strong safety, to get out there on a quicker, faster man in single coverage. You'll see Cleveland come back to that set.
We were asking Kosar yesterday if he would try to pick on the rookie in the secondary, and he says, well, why wouldn't you pick on a former linebacker? He knew all the details about Lake. Jones and Manoah now behind Kosar on 2nd and 7. This one complete again on the sideline. Webster Slaughter just beyond the 40-yard line and short of the first down. Dwayne Woodruff defending for the Steelers.
Now I want you to watch Kosar on this replay if we have it. He looks to his left first and sees that the receiver or the defense has it covered. Now he'll come back to this side and throw the quick out. That's a very difficult thing to do, going from left to right and hitting an 8-yard out.
3rd down coming up for the Cleveland Browns. This is the opening drive of the football game. 3rd and 2. Jones in motion. Manoah. Driven back at the 40-yard line. Hardy Nickerson and Carnell Lake, the rookie, meeting Manoah at the hole and driving him back for a loss on the play.
Well, that's what the Steelers want to do when it gets down to tough yardage. They want to dominate that line of scrimmage, and Nickerson did just that, getting some help from Carnell Lake. Sure, they gave up the quick outs to the right side, but here it is 4th down, so it's a job well done by that Steeler defense.
4th down for the Cleveland Browns. Brian Wagner is on to punt. 2nd in the NFL, averaging 41.5 yards a year ago. And Woodson is deep for the Steelers. And there's the punt by Wagner. Woodson takes it on the fly. Trying to spin away, he can't. He's at about the 32-yard line, spun down there by Stephen Braggs after a 34-yard punt by Brian Wagner. So the Steelers hold on their first defensive possession. Now they get the offensive unit onto the field.
Well, I'm excited to see Bubby Brister play. He makes things happen. He's matured quite a bit as a quarterback. The offensive coordinator, Tom Moore, told me that during the last 6-game stretch last season, Bubby became a big-time QB.
There you see the starting line. Rickett's a rookie. We'll watch him. And Brister, the quarterback, that's his lineup in the backfield. And quickly, Worley, the rookie out of Georgia, the All-American, burst straight ahead for a Steeler first down, 12 yards. As Thane Gash, who came in there on the strong safety spot, makes the tackle on Tim Worley after his first pro carry. Here's the Cleveland defense now. The base is a 4-3 under Bud Carson. The defensive linemen love it, and they've become the dominant unit on this Cleveland defense. In the secondary, Minifield remains one of the best corners in the game. Pro Bowler Hanford Dixon moved to free safety, but he could go back to the corner if Blaylock gets in trouble there. Merrill Hodge, as a fight breaks out, as you see. Whitestone battling against Hanford Dixon. And the game's only 4 or 5 minutes old, and already a fight's broken down. And Brister says, get back in the huddle. That's that leadership role we heard the coaches talk about on Brister's part.
Yes, it is. He's become more confident. He knows the offense. We have a Cleveland Brown down right now. I didn't get his number, Tom. Did you?
No, not yet.
Well, Brister is certainly more confident. He's making things happen these days.
And we've got a timeout. We'll be back to Three Rivers in just a moment. Hanford Dixon on the field, and Joe at his customary cornerback spot, not the free safety where they experimented with him in the preseason.
Well, they didn't think he could keep up with the wide receivers in his 8th year or so, 9th year, I guess, and he came on in training camp. He improved his quickness. They have the 4 best defensive backs on the field. They have Thane Gash back there at the free safety position, number 30. So what they've done is put their 4 best players that they're confident with on the field.
And Blaylock had been burned in the preseason 2 or 3 times. Brister hands it to Hodge, and Hodge fights his way forward into Cleveland territory to about the 48-yard line before Robert Banks can make the stop. Before that timeout, Carl Big Daddy Hairston was shaken up and had to go out of the Cleveland Browns defensive lineup, replaced by Marlon Jones in his 2nd year out of Central State of Ohio.
Well, you lose a lot of experience when Big Daddy goes out of the game. He's a wily veteran, and he also has the quickness still to get to that passer.
There's Hairston, number 78, on the sideline. Rodney Carter into the game along with Jason Johnson for the Steelers on 3rd and 2. And here's the shotgun for the first time under Chuck Noll. Brister, pass knocked away, incomplete, a flag down. Intended for Lips. There's a penalty marker down as Minifield and Wright converged on Lewis Lips. It'll be interference against the Browns. Johnny Greer is the referee for today's game as Bud Carson sees a pass interference penalty put the Steelers down into the Browns territory.
First and 10. Well, the Steelers not showing much respect for Frank Minifield, the all-pro cornerback. I was surprised that they would go in his direction as quickly as they did, because he is their best cornerback. He looked like he had good coverage, but he bumped the wide receiver too early.
There's Minifield, the all-pro. Rodney Carter in the backfield. Stone is wide to the left. First down at the Cleveland 40. Carter in motion. Brister pumps and then is taken down at midfield. Robert Banks got through to sack Brister for the first Cleveland sack of the game. These two teams played in the preseason, and the Steelers won the game, but while the first units were in there, the Brown defensive line played havoc with the Steelers.
Well, here you have Robert Banks, an unrestricted free agent on the left side of your screen. Number 97 will come into view right there on the left. He kind of crawls back there and gets a hold of Bubby's leg right here. Good effort by Robert Banks. He came from the Houston Oilers, and he's changed from his linebacking days at Notre Dame to a darn good defensive end.
Hairston now back in the Cleveland defense at 2nd and 19. The rookie Worley gets across the 50 to the 49-yard line before Banks makes the tackle on the running play. There's Banks, one of the 8 Plan B free agents that made this Browns team. They've found a way over the years, the Cleveland Browns have, Joe, to rebuild their team by sometimes unorthodox methods, this time the Plan B free agency. Here's our first 10-minute ticker of the 1989 season as the Bears have regained the lead against the Bengals. San Francisco ahead on the road, and Detroit putting it to trailing Phoenix 16-13. Jason Johnson, Rodney Carter into the game for the Steelers. They face a 3rd and 19. Brister going deep, intended for Stone. He can't get there. And a flag down again. It was Hanford Dixon that grabbed his arm just as the pass was sailing by. Dixon argues his case, but it'll be the 2nd pass interference call against the Browns.
Well, Hanford Dixon is probably arguing the patch wasn't catchable anyway. We'll have the officials talk it over. He really...
Interference, 29 down.
Well, I don't know what language that was, but I sure couldn't understand it. We had some audio problems.
Joe, I think they said Dermontti Dawson, who is the starting center for the Steelers, taking the place of Mike Webster, guilty of a hold, a pass interference on Dixon of the Browns, offsetting penalties.
Well, it did appear Big Daddy Harrison was tackled from behind on that last rush, and I guess the referee saw it as well as I.
Here's Bubby Brister in 3 games against Cleveland. He has completed only 39% of his passes, no touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Brister heaves it, intended for, I don't know who, there wasn't anybody close. Dwight Stone may have been the closest Steeler to it, and he was 20 yards away. Brister felt the pressure and just threw it away.
Well, the big problem for the Steelers coming into this game and talking with Coach Noll was Bubby Brister's protection. During the exhibition season, they had 18 sacks, and they have their offensive line in a disarray right now because of injuries. So throughout the course of this game, that offensive line is going to have to start finding ways to give Bubby Brister some time.
Harry Newsome led the NFL in punting, over 45 yards a kick last year, but had 6 blocked. And the Ice Cube, Gerald McNeil, deep for the Browns. Newsome's first punt, not particularly good. Does get a great roll, though. McNeil picks it up on the fly and is immediately upset down at about the 7-yard line. Tyrone Stowe down in a hurry to kick the legs out from under the Ice Cube after Newsome's punt rolled for 43 yards.
Newsome will take it. He's happy with it. Anytime one of the fellas back there receiving punts allows that ball to bounce, you're taking a big chance. McNeil fielded it nicely. The ball may have gone in the end zone, but by that time McNeil had nothing else to do except catch the ball. He felt good coverage down there by David Arnold, number 25 of the Steelers.
Second possession of the afternoon for Kosar and company. Kosar hasn't missed on 4 passes, but only for 21 yards. He's backed up here at his own 8. Eric Metcalf is in the game now, set wide to the right. Kosar has his pass knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Batted down by Tim Johnson, number 78.
Well, there's good penetration by that front of the Steelers. Gerald Williams is getting good penetration. Watch number 93, Keith Willis, get his arms up. Well, I don't know who knocked that ball down, but Tim Johnson, 78, had good penetration.
Johnson led the Steelers in sacks last year, though he only had 4. That's one of the reasons the Steelers didn't have much of a pass rush. 2nd and 10 as the rain starts here at Three Rivers Stadium. Jones tries to get to the corner, met at the 10 and driven down by a host of black-shirted Steelers with Dwayne Woodruff and Carnell Lake leading the charge.
There's Jones. He won a job this year as an unrestricted free agent in this Cleveland backfield. Certainly a change of pace from what the Cleveland fans have recognized over the years, the big, strong backs.
Welcome to those of you who saw the Bears defeat the Bengals 17-14 in Chicago. Here at Three Rivers Stadium, we're scoreless with 8:15 left in the first quarter, and the Browns facing a 2nd and 5 deep in their own territory. Tom Hammond and Joe Namath with you as the rain has just started at Three Rivers Stadium. Each team punting after its first possession. Bernie Kosar and the Cleveland Browns on their 2nd possession of the afternoon. wide receivers to the right. Now wing left formation. Manoah the only setback. Newsom went in motion, and Manoah gets the handoff. Nothing there. The Steelers awfully tough against the run today. That time, David Little, the Steelers' leading tackler in 1988, met Manoah and drove him back, and then Thomas Everett got a piece of it.
Well, the Steelers, especially on the left side of your screen, they're creating a stalemate. There you see Tim Johnson come inside, and no place for Manoah to go. He goes outside, and David Little is waiting on him. The front three of the Steelers right now are coming off the ball better than we've seen them in the last couple of seasons.
Steelers go with their dime defensive package. Aaron Jones is in on the defensive line. Hall and Griffin in the backfield. 6 defensive backs. Browns have it 3rd and 4. With 4 wide receivers. Kosar delivers quickly, and Brennan makes the catch for a Cleveland first down out at about the 25-yard line. Brian Brennan beat Delton Hall on the play with a clutch first down grab.
Just a marvelous throw by Bernie Kosar to Brian Brennan at the top of your screen. Brennan makes a little swing out move, then uses all hands as he nearly had to leave his feet to get it all. Delton Hall gets there a little late. Brilliant pass by Kosar, who was under pressure from Aaron Jones.
There's Brennan, who last year caught 46 passes. Kosar with a first down and a little breathing room now out to the 28-yard line. Manoah and Jones now move to the split back position. Kosar tosses it away. Flag down. That interception was made by Everett, but he was out of bounds. Gerald Williams was putting the pressure on Kosar, and there's a penalty marker on the play. Offensive pass interference against the Cleveland Browns. That's the third interference call against Cleveland. The first 2 defensive calls. Here's an offensive pass interference.
Well, they caught the old Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Newsome, in the middle of the field, pushing off a linebacker and trying to get open.
Interference. 82 offense. Still first down.
Johnny Greer indicating, as you said, Joe, that the call was against Ozzie Newsome, who's back for his final year in the NFL. The #1 receiving tight end in NFL history. He's gone 143 consecutive games with a reception, none yet today.
Kosar was confused by the coverage on that last play, Tom. That's Rod Rust, the new defensive coordinator with Pittsburgh.
Kosar told us yesterday that Rust is a defensive coordinator that always makes you think. Eric Metcalf, the rookie from Texas, looks for a block, can't find much of one. Taken out of bounds just beyond the 21-yard line of the Browns is Dwayne Woodruff, the veteran cornerback in 10 years out of the University of Louisville, up to force Metcalf out of bounds.
Metcalf with such quick moves and quick speed. He hasn't grasped this entire offense yet. That's one of the reasons he's being shuttled in and out. But when he gets the mental part of this game of Coach Carson's, he's going to be out there in that field a lot more often.
Metcalf, first-round draft choice of the Browns, the 13th player taken. 2nd and 16 for Cleveland. Scoreless game, 6:42 left in the first quarter. Kosar wide open to Slaughter across the middle. He's short of the first down to the 36-yard line, where he's covered by Thomas Everett, the free safety. There's Everett, 4th-round draft choice out of Baylor, now in his 3rd year. Has started 21 of the 26 NFL games that have been played. And it looks like Webster Slaughter is injured on the play. We'll take a timeout while they tend to Slaughter. No score from Three Rivers Stadium. Crowd nearly 60,000 at Three Rivers Stadium in what was a rainy afternoon for a moment. The rain has now stopped. Here's that injury, Joe.
Slaughter makes a nice catch, and then he kind of slips on the turf and takes a hit in a very sensitive place, and he'll be back, I'm sure.
Browns facing a 3rd down, 3rd and 2. They've converted 1 of 2 third downs so far in the game. Kosar right back to pass. Almost intercepted. Woodson had it and couldn't hold on to it. It's like he was surprised the ball came and he had it in his hands and saw it drop away. Brian Brennan was the intended receiver, but Woodson almost had the interception.
Well, he has excellent coverage there in the middle of your screen on Brian Brennan. Kosar relies on Brennan so often to be able to break away from these defensive backs, even on the short hooks and turns in and out. But Woodson was in excellent shape that time.
Brian Wagner on for his second punt of the day. His first one covered 33. Rod Woodson deep for the Steelers. Wagner with a good punt. Woodson backpedals and lets it hit at about the 5. And the Browns down it inside the 5-yard line. Wagner saw his punt downed inside the Steeler 5 as the special teams did a great job of coverage. 57-yard kick. So the Steelers now backed up into the shadow of their own end zone. We're scoreless at Three Rivers. From Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Tom Hammond and Joe Namath. 5:47 left in the first quarter. The Browns and the Steelers 0-0. First down, Pittsburgh at their own 5-yard line. Lips is in motion. A handoff to Worley. The ball's free, and the Browns have it for a touchdown. Clay Matthews, the veteran linebacker, pounced on it in the end zone, and Bud Carson's Browns get that defense going for the first touchdown of the game.
Just excellent penetration by number 97, Robert Banks. The free agent acquisition the Cleveland Browns made in this offseason. He knocks it loose, and there's Clay Matthews right there on the spot. A big play by Banks.
Banks, the free agent, coming over from the Oilers, making the play as Worley fumbled.
Well, he came untouched that time, folks. Wolfley blocked down. No one laid a hand on Robert Banks. He came untouched to get in the backfield to cause that fumble.
Here's Matt Barr on for the Browns to attempt the extra point. And it's good. So the Cleveland Browns score off their defense. 5:42 left in the opening quarter. Now 7-0 Browns. Robert Banks made the play that led to the touchdown, shaking the ball loose from Tim Worley. And Cleveland with a 7-0 lead after Clay Matthews recovered the fumble for the touchdown. Wagner with a kickoff for the Browns. Woodson takes it at the 5. Take it outside and taken to the turf at about the 22-yard line. We've got a penalty flag down. Clifford Charlton downfield to make the tackle for the Browns with help from Mike Oliphant. And there is a penalty marker. Bud Carson was talking to us, Joe, yesterday, offside against Cleveland, about his philosophy as a head coach, and he said he didn't want to waste all that defensive knowledge that he brought as a defensive specialist as an assistant coach, and he said that his new scheme, certainly the defensive linemen loved it. Well, that last play that led to the touchdown illustrated that very well.
They do have a new defensive line coach in John Teerling.
Chicken team, re-kick.
John Teerling, who came to Bud Carson on a high recommendation from George Allen, and he has these fellas penetrating the line a great deal. But I want to see how Bud Carson adjusts and deals with Mark Trestman, the offensive coordinator. Is he going to let Trestman continue to call the plays and run the offense, or will Bud Carson start having some input into that offense if it staggers a bit?
I asked Carson how he would describe his defense, and he said it's a more penetrating type defense, an aggressive pass rush, and it eliminates the two-gap technique, he said, and the down linemen certainly like it. But he said it was also dangerous against Pittsburgh because they run so many traps with their offensive line. Here's the kickoff again by Wagner, 5 yards further upfield. Woodson again from the 5-yard line. Woodson twisting his way forward is tackled at about the 23-yard line. 5:24 left in the first quarter. Here's Worley trying to sweep. Not much blocking there. He gets a couple of yards before he's bumped out of bounds by Frank Minifield. Here's Worley, the All-American out of the University of Georgia. Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, was saying he does everything you want a back to do. He runs the football well. He blocks well. He said he even catches the ball well, which he didn't do at Georgia because they had that very conservative offense under Vince Dooley.
He's definitely a big play back also. He has the kind of speed that can break the long gainer. as well as the power to run over these defensive backs. I have to tell you, Clay Matthews, the outside linebacker for Cleveland, did a terrific job of stringing out that last play to enable Minifield to make the tackle.
Rookie Derek Hill into the game for the Steelers, set wide to the left. 2nd and 6. Blitz in motion. Worley, maybe a yard. Fumbled again. And the Browns have it again. Let's see if the whistle had blown. Mike Johnson jarred the ball loose again from Worley, and they say it's Cleveland's football, and Worley is angry. 2 fumbles in the first quarter on consecutive possessions for Worley and the Steelers.
Well, let's see if we can see if it's when the fumble occurs. Worley comes up in the hole and has a good hit by Eddie Johnson, and he strips the ball loose, actually. Mike Johnson, excuse me, actually just puts his arm in there and rips the ball away from Worley. Worley was lying on a defensive player, but he hadn't hit the ground yet, Tom.
Well, fumble's a problem for Pittsburgh a year ago, and it's a rookie that's coughed it up twice. David Grayson recovered for the Browns, who have it with a first down at the Steeler 24. Play action pass. Kosar's pass nowhere near a receiver. Manoah perhaps, but he was 10 yards away, and that one was just mistiming, it appeared, Joe. Kosar not on the same page as his receivers.
Well, if you look to the right of the screen, you may see Manoah have some trouble getting out of the backfield. You see, he doesn't know whether, or he had to run around Willis, number 93, and Manoah never got deep enough nor open in time for Kosar to get to him, so Kosar smartly threw the ball away.
Here's Tim Manoah out of Penn State. It's 2nd and 10 for the Browns. Kosar fires a strike in the middle of the field, and it's complete. Making the catch, Reggie Langhorne, who is playing today despite having an appendectomy on August 23rd. Langhorne with that tough catch across the middle as Kosar drilled it home.
Well, he'll just go down and cross the middle and leave Woodson kind of in his wake. And David Little, number 50, right there, doesn't get over quickly enough to help knock the pass down. I'm a little surprised to see Langhorne out there. He's recovered very quickly from that appendectomy.
Has he ever? Numbers on Kosar, 7 of 10. He's got a first down at the Steeler 10-yard line. Cleveland already with a 7-0 lead. Jones takes it to the 6, a gain of 4 before he's stopped by Greg Lloyd, one of the outside linebackers for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Just a good effort by that front line of Cleveland for End Zone Jones. You know, that's his nickname, End Zone Jones. I like that. Anyway, Ted Banker, another unprotected free agent that Cleveland got during the offseason, helped that unprotected free agent Jones gain 4 yards that time.
Those Plan B free agents making a big impact already in the first quarter here at Pittsburgh. 2nd and 6 for the Browns. Gleason is in motion. Kosar scrambles and is sacked at the 9. Greg Lloyd came up to take Kosar down. His protection started to break down when Tim Johnson had a good rush going from the defensive end spot. Kosar scrambled but couldn't get free.
Well, Kosar is looking for Langhorne again, but Rod Woodson is all over him. That rush by Tim Johnson certainly forced Kosar up through the pocket, but he didn't have anyone open that time. Excellent coverage back there by the Steelers.
3rd down coming up for Cleveland. They've converted 1 of 3 on the afternoon. The ball at the 9-yard line. Cleveland leads 7-0. 3 minutes, 12 seconds to go, first quarter. 4 wide receivers for the Browns, 2 to either side. Kosar flips it for the end zone. Brennan can't get there. Rod Woodson covering Brennan, but Kosar just let it fly, hoping Brennan could run under it.
That's exactly it, Tom. Right now, he's just trying to drop it in that dead area to Brennan's left or over his head where Rod Woodson couldn't get to it. It had to be a perfect pass, and it wasn't. I think Rod Russ, with his defensive schemes, have caused some confusion in Kosar's mind or in their passing attack so far.
Kosar goes to the sideline, and Barr is on to attempt a 27-yard field goal. And it splits the uprights. So far connects from 27 yards, and the Browns, taking advantage of two Tim Worley fumbles, break on top of the Steelers. Number 38 in the black jersey, Tim Worley, the All-American rookie, first-round draft choice out of Georgia. He's fumbled twice in the game so far. After he fumbled the first time, which led to a Cleveland touchdown, they went right back to him. He fumbled again. What's that do to his head, Joe?
Well, it breaks his concentration. He's thinking about those fumbles. He's not thinking about the plays that he needs to run now, and I can't blame him. It would happen to anyone.
Here's the kickoff by Wagner. Woodson will take it at the goal line. Woodson, the speedster, to the 25-yard line.
You know, in defense of Worley a little, Tom, not that he really needs it, but Robert Banks came from the right end position to cause that first fumble. No one had blocked him, and then this last time, I'll tell you, Mike Johnson just made a brilliant play. Any upsets there? I don't see any upsets except that Chicago, maybe. Tampa Bay wins a big one, huh? They were on the road for that one.
And here are the 4 o'clock games. The Oilers and the Vikings locked up in a good one at the Metrodome. First down for the Steelers from their own 25. Brister has only attempted one pass. That one fell incomplete. And they give it to Worley again, and it's a reverse to Lips. Lips looks for blocking, and he doesn't fool the Cleveland defense. They take the ball away. This is Grayson. Grayson for the Cleveland touchdown. David Grayson, 29 yards for the Cleveland touchdown, and that defense is wrecking havoc on the Steelers.
Well, I can understand how this could happen to Worley, being a rookie, having Mike Johnson steal the ball from him or Eddie Johnson. But here, to have a veteran Louis Lips just have it stripped and taken away from him by Grayson, the fans have to wonder if his progress wasn't stopped. Shouldn't the whistle have blown? But I don't think so, Tom. That was a good steal.
Extra point by Barr is good. The Cleveland defense has taken over the game. Bud Carson said he might be a head coach. He had dared to be a head coach, but he told us that he wasn't going to waste that defensive knowledge. And Chuck Noll knows that Bud Carson, his former assistant, knows the defense, and that defensive unit of the Browns is dominating the game. 3 Pittsburgh fumbles have led now to 17 Cleveland points, and with 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter, Bud Carson's Browns are up 17-zip.
Well, you can try to make excuses for Lips on this last fumble, even Worley, but these guys are supposed to know they need to wrap that football up. You'll see Louis Lips get hung up a little bit. Now look at Dave Grayson. David is grabbing the ball right out of his arms. Lips can't go anywhere. And Chuck Noll says, what do you do? I mean, I can't hold on to the ball for the guys. They have to keep it themselves. It's very frustrating.
Well, Chuck Noll told us yesterday that despite all the unpleasantness of a year ago when a lot of people called for his resignation after winning only 5 games and a forced shakeup of his coaching staff, that the enthusiasm was still there. He might be changing his mind after this first quarter. There's Noll in his 21st year as the Steeler head coach. Woodson, this is a familiar scenario as Woodson takes it at the 5. Spins forward to the 26-yard line.
You know, Tom, I can relate to having that ball taken away a little bit. The only time it ever happened to me was a fumble right in front of me, and I got on the pile, and I had the ball in my arms, and darn if one of those big defensive guys just took it right out of my arms before the referee could get to me. And what a bad feeling, you know, having someone just take the ball away from you. I mean, it's a helpless feeling.
There's Grayson, who scored the touchdown after ripping the ball away from Lips. Bubby Brister needs a big play right here, Joe, to get some confidence back for his offense. They pitch it to Worley. Bounces outside, hit down at the 32-yard line. Pretty good run by the rookie Worley, who hung on to the ball that time to the cheers of the sellout crowd at Three Rivers.
Well, the defense of the Steelers has been playing fairly well, and they just had those big turnovers that have put those 17 points on the board, and so I guess the fans are a little frustrated. But what Worley just showed us is one of the things he's capable of doing. He made a little nod up inside, then bounce outside with his speed. He's able to go inside, then jump outside, which the Steelers need badly.
He rushed for 1,200 yards as a senior, tops in the SEC. Brister attempting to pass, bounces out of the pocket, looking downfield, and fires it incomplete. Wide open all the way downfield was Mike Malarkey, the tight end. The pass was intended for Hill, number 82. What Brister didn't see was that Malarkey was all alone down at the Brown 20-yard line with not a defender within 30 yards.
Well, I know Brister's looking for an open receiver. He's going to get hit in the head here a little bit. Someone kind of grabbed his helmet here, but he's able to shake that loose and get away, and he appears to have all the time a guy would need to find somebody, but he just can't. I think the Steelers are being tested now. They're going to show what kind of maturity they've reached to this stage. They have a young team, and they've fallen behind like this, and we'll see what they're made of.
From the shotgun, Brister intended for Lips, and a flag down. That'll be the third pass interference call against the Cleveland defense. Frank Minifield draws his second.
Yeah, well, Minifield did get his arm on the receiver before the ball got there that time. It probably would have gone incomplete anyway had he not fouled him because it was so high.
Bud Carson thinks that Frank Minifield is in a class all his own at the cornerback spot, but his three-time Pro Bowler draws his second pass interference call of the day.
Well, Bud Carson was upset because if you look at this, you'll see Minifield on the left side of your screen. Whenever they get turned to the inside, he'll just bump him with his left side here. You see that? He kind of gets his hand in there. That's a tough call, and I can see why Carson was upset.
First down for the Steelers at their own 45-yard line, trailing 17-0. Brister goes deep. Stone can't get there. He was double covered. Brister let it fly deep, but Dixon and Gash running right with Stone, and the pass too far.
Oh, Stone may have learned something that time because Hanford Dixon climbed up on Stone, held him up, bumped him around, and Stone was never able to get downfield. He's going up against one of the best corners in the past, and I guess people are curious to find out if Hanford Dixon has lost anything at the corner. At this point of the game, it looks like Dixon is his old self.
And back to the cornerback spot after that experiment at free safety. Second and 10 for the Steelers. Brister 0 for 3. Running play, nothing. Dropped back at the 40 is Merrill Hodge. 5-yard loss on the play as Marlon Jones comes in to make the stop on Hodge just a second after he received the handoff.
Well, we'll see Marlon Jones get in there, get penetration to throw Hodge for the loss. Marlon Jones, of course, you Cleveland fans may remember him. He went to Central High School, and he's from Wilberforce, Ohio. I guess they're happy to have that hometown boy there, huh, Tom?
I say they are, but he's made a big play, as have many members of this Cleveland defense so far. Brister in the shotgun. Scrambling, he's got plenty of room to run. He's going to go deep for the end zone. And it will be intercepted in the end zone. Intercepted by the Browns. Jason Johnson was streaking for the end zone. Mark Harper was covering him, and it was Harper that came up with the football as Brister throws his first interception of the '89 season, and the Browns will take over at their own 20-yard line on the touchback.
Well, Harper has pretty good position, but watch this burst of speed right here. Look at Harper's burst of speed. He's kind of pulling away a little bit and plays the ball beautifully right here. He just leaves the ground and makes a brilliant interception.
So an interception and 3 fumble recoveries for the Cleveland defense in the first quarter. Bubby Brister throwing his first interception. Talking to Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator. First down for the Browns, just 34 seconds left in the opening quarter. Jones. Stopped for no gain. Everett came up from the free safety spot and drove Jones out of bounds for no gain on the play. Bubby Brister 0 for 4 and has had 1 interception on that last series. Though it didn't do too much damage, it was all the way in the end zone. What about that haircut, Joe?
Well, I talked about Bubby about that haircut and asked him why. And he says just a change of pace. He went to get a haircut. The barber asked if he could try something. Bubby, being a free spirit and willing to take chances, says, yeah, go ahead, give it a shot.
Last year, Last year he shaved his head going to training camp. He said his mom asked him to just leave a little this year, so he did. That's the end of the first quarter. The Browns leading 17-0. As we get ready to start the second quarter, the Browns, by virtue of some tough defense, lead the Steelers 17-0. Well, Joe, welcome back home to Western Pennsylvania. Beaver Falls just 28 miles away. This Pittsburgh team is a young team, falling behind 17-0 in the first quarter. What's that do to their confidence, and what do they have to do to recover?
Well, it nearly shatters their confidence, or certainly can. What the defense has to do is pick up the momentum. The defense played well early on, then the offense had the turnovers. Let's hope they don't fall apart for Pittsburgh's sake. I know Coach Noel wants to see how they're going to react under this set of circumstances. Certainly rather not be in this situation, but his offense has got to get it together.
Cleveland with a 2nd and 9 from its own 21-yard line. Kosar scrambles and completes the pass to Manoah. Manoah across the 25 to the 26-yard line, where Brian Hinkle makes the tackle.
Bernie Kosar, he's able to find an open receiver better than any quarterback that Bud Carson has ever worked with. That's what Bud told us. It's amazing how he can buy time back in that pocket. He looks gangly, he doesn't look quick, he doesn't look fluid, but yet he finds a way to buy time and go to the open receiver.
And a thinking man's quarterback. He always finds a way. And that familiar staggered stance under center, we asked him about that, Joe, and he said it gives him a little head start and keeps his feet from being stepped on by his offensive line. There's that stagger, that right foot set way back. Third down play. Pass complete. Langhorne makes a first down catch across the 30-yard line. Dwayne Woodruff immediately takes him down, but it's a Cleveland first down.
Well, Pittsburgh tried to get all the people back there on Kosar, not give him any time. Langhorne, right there, 88, just crosses the field, and, well, you can see Woodruff was so far away, he had no chance really to stop that pass. Whenever the Steelers are sending the linebackers and blitzing, you'd think that the corner would want to get up and crowd that receiver a little more.
First down for the Browns from their own 32-yard line. They lead 17-0. Kosar pumps once and then goes deep. And the pass is complete to Brennan. Brennan out of bounds just short of the 30-yard line. Brennan was all alone. Woodruff and Woodson had to recover to make the tackle, but not before it went for 38 yards to Brennan.
Well, it starts with that offensive line protection up front. You can see Banker, Rakosi, Pike doing a good job in there. Kosar gave the punt and Rod Woodson just bid on it. I don't think he has much respect for Brennan's speed, but this man can put down a move and lead you, obviously.
He was wide open, and the Browns again threatening to score, already leading by 17. First down from the Steeler 30. Jones gets a couple of yards before he's stacked up by the center of the Pittsburgh defense. Cleveland leads 17-0. Now to Bob Costas at NFL Live.
All right, Tom, I'm sure Broadway Joe would have appreciated the opportunity to throw to the likes of Steve Largent. Of course, Joe had Don Maynard, but here's Largent, 23 yards from David Craig. It's his 98th career receiving touchdown, one shy of the league record that stood for 44 years, held by the former Alabama and Packer great Don Hudson.
All right, Joe, would you have liked to have had a chance to throw to Steve Largent?
Yes, I would. Any quarterback would, but as he mentioned, Don Maynard, a Hall of Famer, was a treat for me to work with.
Penalty markers down. It appeared the Steelers were offside. Eric Metcalf carries for short yardage before Tim Johnson, who looked like he jumped offside, will cause the play to come back. Johnny Greer signals offside against the Steelers. Joe Kosar off to a great start. 10 of his first 14 passes today.
70 defense. 78 defense. Second down.
Let's see if we can find the penalty here, Tom, on number 78, Tim Johnson. He's on the bottom right. Well, not quite the bottom. There he is, jumping a little bit, getting into that neutral zone before the snap of the ball. Had he been able to back up, there wouldn't have been a penalty, but he was caught right in the neutral zone.
Second down play. Browns already have piled up 120 yards total offense to only 28 for the Steelers. Kosar chased out of the pocket. Lets it fly sidearm, and there was a bump in the end zone. If that pass had been catchable, it might have been another interference. Langhorne was in the end zone and got a bump, but the pass was not catchable.
Once again, Bernie Kosar shows us some niftiness back there in the pocket and is able to avoid a sack. You see, if Kosar gets sacked back here, he may take his team out of field goal range.
Let's take a look at the statistics after the first quarter. Neither team doing much on the ground, and the Steelers with 0 yards passing. Kosar had 66. And of course, turnovers were the big story of that first quarter as the Browns converted 3 fumbles by the Steelers into 17 points. They still lead 17-0, 11.5 minutes left in the second quarter. First down, Browns. The ball spotted at the 19 of Pittsburgh. Jones stopped at the 16-yard line by Aaron Jones and Brian Hinkle.
Jones won this job earlier from number 21, Eric Metcalf, you see, who just entered the game. Of course, Metcalf missed most of the camp, Tom, and that was a big advantage that end zone Jones had over Eric Metcalf.
Here's Eric Metcalf, the first-round draft choice from Texas, 13th player taken in this year's draft. He's lined up as the tailback in the I formation. Brennan in motion. Kosar to pass. Swings it to Metcalf. Dodges out of bounds after a short pickup on the play. About a yard or two. Taken out of bounds by Dwayne Woodruff. What a reminder to our viewers, we will be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player in today's game. That'll come up at the conclusion of the contest. 3rd and 8 coming up for Kosar and company. Bud Carson's team on top 17-0. The Steelers come with their dime defense. Delton Hall and Larry Griffin come in the secondary, giving them 6 defensive backs. Aaron Jones is on for pass rushing purposes on the line. The wide receivers to either side. Kosar's pass complete. Down to the 3-yard line. Langhorne with another catch across the middle, splitting Woodruff and Griffin for a first down grab.
Well, I don't know whether Dwayne Woodruff is expecting inside help or not, but Langhorne just flat ran downfield and broke in away from Woodruff right here. Woodruff could never catch up. Wide open, good catch, excellent pass once again from Kosar, but Woodruff's been caught in that chase position a few times this afternoon.
That one went for 14 yards, and the Browns have a first and goal at the 3-yard line of the Steelers. Jones and Manoah the setbacks. Tight formation. Now Newsom in motion. Manoah thrown back at the 3-yard line. David Little, the inside linebacker, the top tackler for the Steelers, with help from Greg Lloyd, throwing Manoah back.
Well, that statistic right there, Tom, may be one of the reasons that they traded Biner, I guess, to Washington. I never have been able to understand that trade. Biner was an excellent all-around back, and Oliphant certainly hasn't developed yet in this Cleveland offense.
Second and goal. They spot the ball just short of the 1-yard line now, and it's Metcalf and Manoah in the backfield. Kosar will throw for it. Hit from the blind side, still got rid of it incomplete. Derek Tennell, the tight end, had a hand on it at the corner of the end zone, but couldn't hold on as Brian Hinkle came in to put the pressure on Bernie Kosar.
Good defense that time. Kosar is going to get harassed here from number 26, Rod Woodson, and Tennell almost makes the catch. He's trying to, but Hinkle is close enough to jar it loose.
It was Hinkle defending as Woodson came in, forcing Kosar to throw in a hurry. 3rd and goal now from the 1. A little light rain coming down. Lofted in the end zone and incomplete. The pass intended for McNeil, and Carnell Lake, the rookie, who has drawn a lot of attention from Kosar today, makes the play for the Steelers.
Same kind of pass Kosar tried to get to Brian Brennan earlier. He just lays it over the hole, but Carnell Lake will have none of it. The rookie strong safety's in a close enough position to cause some problems for McNeil. Now, McNeil had a chance to catch that ball cleanly, Tom. Had he caught it in the first place, it could have been a touchdown.
Lake, the rookie out of UCLA, has forced the Browns to settle for a field goal. Barr's attempt is up, and from 20 yards, it's good. So the Cleveland Browns drive down the field to add to their lead. It's now 20-0 Browns. The story of the game so far, the turnovers, 4 of them by the Steelers, including 3 fumbles. Tim Worley, number 38, the Pittsburgh rookie, had 2 of them. And the Browns with a 20-0 lead. Tom Hammond and Joe Namath from Three Rivers Stadium. Wagner set to kick it off for the Browns. Woodson deep. And Woodson fields it at the 3. Tries to turn the corner. He's got some room and is taken out of bounds at about the 32-yard line. Mike Oliphant, who came over from the Redskins, does manage to get downfield and stop Woodson, who had some room down the sideline. Now, Joe, it's time for the Steeler offense to get cranked up.
Well, Bubby's got to calm those fellas down back there and just go back to the drawing board, do the things that they had planned to do earlier. The score is 20-0. It's not a reason for them to change their game plan drastically.
The Browns dominating the time of possession. The Steelers need a drive or a big play. They need something. Brister tries to give it to them. Passes it complete to Lips, who's out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line. A pickup of about 7 yards on the play. Lewis Lips gives Brister his first completion of the game.
Well, Frank Minifield, 31, isn't going to give up the cheap one right now. He's not going to give up the big one. He lets Lips take that 8-yard out. Just gives it up. Says, all right, you're not going to get an easy touchdown on me. You might complete a few outs, but you're not going to get the deep pattern, Louis.
There are the numbers on Lips a year ago. He's now caught a pass in 26 straight games. 2nd and 3 for the Steelers. Lips set to the right. Minifield covering him man-to-man. Keep it on the ground to Worley, and he gets nothing. Stopped in his tracks by Clay Matthews, the 3-time Pro Bowl linebacker of the Browns.
Clay Matthews has a different responsibility this season than he's been used to. They're playing Matthews over the tight end most of the time, and in the past, he was always lining up on the right side as a weak side linebacker, or the right side linebacker. He hasn't really liked the adjustment, but he certainly has made the adjustment and performing brilliantly.
Steelers looking for their first 3rd down conversion. This is their 3rd attempt. High snap on the shotgun. Brister pulls it down, but that's all he could do, as he is sacked back at the 30-yard line by Clay Matthews. Brister told us yesterday that this shotgun used by the Steelers for the first time was an adventure. He'd gotten some snaps like that, and he got one at an inopportune time there.
Well, he's trying to hand the ball off to Merrill Hodge, number 33, but the snap doesn't allow it. Maybe he was trying to hand it off. The snap killed the play. It was a good catch by Brister just to save the field position in this case.
Newsom will punt on 4th down. There's Newsom. And the ice cube, Gerald McNeil. McNeil will take it at the 39. Spun around and taken down. Good special teams coverage. Carnell Lake quickly downfield to stop McNeil after Newsom's punt only covered 36 yards. We've got a timeout. 7:23 left in the first half. It's been all Cleveland here at Three Rivers Stadium. With producer Tommy Roy and director J.D. Hanson, Tom Hammond and Joe Namath from Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. 7:23 to go first half. The Browns leading 20-0 with a first down play. And Keith Jones rambles forward to the 35-yard line. There's a penalty flag on the field. Aaron Jones made the tackle. It'll be a holding call against the Browns. Browns dominating the game thus far. Greg Riccozzi, the center, number 73, is guilty of the hold. There's Riccozzi in his 3rd year out of Miami, a 2nd-round draft choice in 1987. Saw a sports psychologist over the offseason and said it had really improved his play, didn't make as many mistakes.
Helped his confidence a great deal.
Browns have piled up 143 yards to just 17 total offense for the Steelers. Dusher goes in motion. And on the draw play, this is Keith Jones again to the 20-yard line. Very little, if any, gain on the play. It's Hardy Nickerson and David Little, the two fine inside linebackers of the Steelers. Get Jones to the turf.
Well, you see what Cleveland wants to do now is make sure they don't turn the ball over in this end of the field. Their defense has been playing brilliantly, or Pittsburgh's been rather inept on offense, and they have a 20-point lead, so you won't see Kosar taking too many chances right now. Sticking to the running game, he has long yards, so he won't throw anything dangerous at this point.
Metcalf tries to get a block and can't. He's taken down for a loss of a yard of a play. Carnell Lake, number 37, the rookie, being picked on again, and again being up to the challenge. He played that one like a linebacker. He shed the interference and took Metcalf down.
Well, Carnell Lake on the left of your screen reads Metcalf as he drops back. Then he just plays off the block by Ozzie Newsome. My goodness, I don't know who delivered the lick there, whether it was Ozzie or Carnell Lake. It looked like Carnell Lake knocked Ozzie down.
It did indeed, as the rookie made the stop on Metcalf, and there's a third down play coming up. The Browns had converted 4 of 8. There's a look at Lake, the rookie from UCLA. Dime defense on the field for the Steelers. 6 defensive backs. Kosar buying some time now, flips it complete to Manoah. Manoah has a first down all the way to midfield. Tim Manoah, who was the safety valve on the play, lost his helmet, but picked up a crucial first down on 3rd and 20 as he took it for a gain of 24 yards.
Well, we talked about Bernie Kosar being able to find a way to buy time. He's not quick, he's not fleet, not agile, but he's smart, and he knows when to unload it. He knew where the line of scrimmage was. Manoah smartly waiting out by the sideline, and well, he picked up a big first down. I'll tell you, Pittsburgh, to me, hasn't been playing that poorly on defense especially, but Cleveland has certainly had things go their way.
Manoah at 240 yards, head up ahead of steam, and they'll mark him down at the 45-yard line. First down for the Browns there. Kosar looks deep. Slaughter's got it at the 5. Slaughter had beaten Rod Woodson on the play, and the Browns will have it 1st and goal at the 5 after a 50-yard pass. Kosar to Slaughter.
Well, it's not a dangerous pass, and it's the same pattern that Brian Brennan ran earlier. You'll see Kosar maybe pump. Nope, he doesn't have to. And I'll tell you, Slaughter just turned inside, then left Rod Woodson in his wake, or the old stop-and-go pattern once again.
Bernie Kosar had not looked so good the last couple of preseason games, and Coach Carson told us it was a matter of timing having his regular receivers. Well, he looks good with his regular receivers today, and he's hit 15 of his first 22 and is knocking on the door of a 200-yard first half. Jones gets a couple to the 3. David Little on the tackle.
Well, you can't say enough for Kosar's protection. That offensive line of the Cleveland Browns has given Bernie some time. Bernie's got time on his own by moving around. But I tell you, this Cleveland Browns up front are just doing a great job. Farron appeared to be a little shaken up there, but I guess he's staying in.
And I think it's Riccozzi that's down. Greg Riccozzi of the Cleveland Browns, a little shaken up. We'll take a break. The Browns on top and threatening. Greg Riccozzi not seriously injured, out of the game, replaced at center by Tom Baugh. 2nd down, the ball at the 3-yard line as the Browns threaten the Steelers again, already leading 20-0. Kosar lost it for the end zone, and it was intended for Slaughter, who couldn't get there. Kosar now 15 of 23 for the game. Slaughter with 4 catches, 75 yards, couldn't quite get there for that one. In preparing for this game, Joe, Kosar and the Browns offense looked at Kansas City Chiefs defenses of a year ago, because that's where Rod Rush was the coordinator. Is that right?
That's right. And in their game with Kansas City earlier last year, their 6-3 victory, that's the game that Bernie Kosar was knocked out by the cornerback blitz. So they wanted to see what Rod Rush did with his defenses and expected the same from Pittsburgh.
3rd and goal for the Browns at the Steeler 3. On the ground, stumbling forward and getting in for the touchdown, yes or no? Yes, Tim Manoah. Manoah just broke the plane of the goal line with a football as he went to the turf, and the Browns have scored again.
Tim Manoah, he's been injured, had some nicks this preseason, hasn't fared well, but he's given a good second and third effort here. He runs into his own man and bounces outside and keeps his balance. Now, did he break the plane of the goal line? It appeared he did.
Well, the Cleveland Browns turning this one into a first half rout in Rod Rust's debut as a head coach. Rod Rust, in Bud Carson's debut as a head coach. We've got defense on the mind. There's the hold. Mike Pagel, the backup quarterback for Matt Barr, who boots it through. The Cleveland Browns drive 70 yards in 7 plays. Less than 4 minutes elapse on the clock. And the Cleveland Browns turning it into a rout with a 27-0 lead and 3:28 left in the first half.
Well, Cleveland's caught Pittsburgh at their worst, I guess. Coach Nolan knows that his team is not that bad. The offensive line, sure, they've had some injuries, and they haven't worked together often, so they're hurting a bit. But the turnovers, who would expect, I know Bud Carson may expect those kind of things to happen, but to steal the ball and score touchdowns, I haven't seen that happen twice, Tom. I don't remember the last time I saw it happen twice in one game.
Let's check the ticker, Joe. There are the finals from the early games again. The new-look Cowboys look like the old-look Cowboys of the last year or so.
New Orleans did a number on them.
And we'll see the late starting games. Minnesota with a 21-7 lead on the Oilers.
And I was surprised at that New England score. Big lead over the Jets. New England, you know, lost 3 defensive starters in Pippett, Lippett, and Barris, and here they are shutting the Jets out.
Can you say that again real fast? Jason Johnson downs the ball in the Pittsburgh end zone. The Steelers will have it 1st and 10 from their own 20. Now, do you throw the game plan out the window and start to scramble and improvise if you're the Steelers?
I would, yes. It's 27 points. You're down. And I'd have to go to the passing game almost exclusively, mix in the screens and the draws to Worley. Get him the ball as much as you can, but it's a good time to let Bubby Brister get back there and run some of his magic, maybe break out of the pocket. Of course, none of that will work if his offensive line can't contain the rush from the ground.
Brister said, "This is the biggest game of my life. It could lead to something big the rest of the year." Right now, it's been a disaster for he and the Steelers. That one too low and behind Hodge, the intended receiver, and Brister hears the boos come down. But Joey's a tough kid, as he said to us yesterday. It's been a bumpy road to get here, a lot of adversity along the way. A lot of times he questioned whether it was worth all the sacrifices he had to make, and he feels like he has something to prove, and he feels that he's up to the task.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the last 6 games of last season convinced the offensive coordinator of the Steelers, Tom Moore, that Bubby Brister is a big-time quarterback. On that last play, it appeared to me that Big Daddy Hairston made a good play in deflecting that pass.
Blitz goes in motion. Brister barely gets the handoff to Worley, who shows us a nice bit of running, lowers his head and pounds across the 25 to the 26-yard line with Thane Gash of the Browns hanging on to him. Michael Dean Perry almost got the handoff from Brister.
Well, Michael Dean Perry just shoots the gap and beats Dawson, the center. Bubby Brister's got to wonder, my goodness, if I'm going to get hit on a regular handoff, what's this season going to hold for the future? Michael Dean Perry comes clean. DeMonte Dawson, the center, just didn't get over there to get in front of him.
Carter and Johnson in for 4 wide receivers on 3rd down. Brister is sacked again. Taken down at the 15-yard line, Carl Big Daddy Hairston. Joe, as we looked at the tape of the preseason meeting between the Steelers and the Browns, which the Steelers won, but while the first-teamers were in there, this Brown defensive line dominated. They're doing it again here.
Well, Big Daddy Hairston just threw Tom Ricketts, the rookie guard, number 71 from Pittsburgh, down. Hairston put a good spin move on him, got his hands on the rookie, and forced him to the ground to make the big play.
The defensive line of the Browns dominating the offensive line of the Steelers. Newsom to punt again. Flags down before the kick is sent on its way. Lake might have been offside. Illegal procedure against the Steelers.
False starts. 37 offense. Still fourth down.
Lake with the false start will force Newsome to punt it again. Nothing has gone right for Chuck Noll in the opening game of his 21st season as the Steelers coach. You see that they've had success in opening games in Noll's tenure. They're coming off the worst season for the Steelers in 20 years, 5-11 a year ago. Well, the crowd cheers for the first time in the first half. They cheer the 2-minute warning. We'll be back right after this. Tom Hammond and Joe Namath once again from Three Rivers Stadium. 2 minutes left in the half. 27-0 the Browns leading. Harry Newsome has punted twice and has only averaged 39 yards, well below his NFL leading average of 45+ a year ago. The Ice Cube, Gerald McNeil, will field it for the Browns. Well, nothing has gone right for the Steelers in this opening game, and there was a lot of enthusiasm among the coaches and the players, even the fans in the Pittsburgh area, that this young Pittsburgh team, starting 3 rookies today, would turn around the misfortunes of a year ago. Chuck Noll almost lost his job, was forced to shake up his coaching staff. Some of the coaches he had to fire went to Cleveland, as a matter of fact, and was also forced to open up his offense a little bit. He said he had the tools now to do that, but so far nothing offensively or defensively has gone very well for the Steelers in the first half. Newsome's punt is a high punt. McNeil from the 45. Dodges one tackler and has got some room. McNeil to the 30. Stumbles forward and is out of bounds inside the 15-yard line. Gerald Williams made a saving tackle for the Steelers as McNeil took it back upfield, and the Browns will threaten again before halftime. 43-yard kick. McNeil brought it back 42.
Well, Stone, number 20, just couldn't bring down the elusive McNeil, and I'm surprised that Newsome made a good play here because McNeil in the open field is very tough to get a handle on. Newsome just took enough out of him for the backup Steeler Gerald Williams to make the tackle, and you know Bud Carson is just as happy as can be right now.
I saying this head coaching stuff is easy.
I think Bud knows a little bit more than that. I mean, he knows things are going his Browns way today.
From the 14, Cleveland with a first down. 1:45 left. Full complement of timeouts for Cleveland. Jones at the 12. Thomas Everett, the free safety. Notice how many tackles the defensive backs are having to make for the Steelers.
Well, I think that's an indication of this Cleveland front line doing an excellent job, and that ought to tell you a story about the defense of Pittsburgh last year. But you know what, folks? What that doesn't show is the offense's play. The offense can put the defense in an awful position many times during the game. Those points that go up on the board aren't always given up by the defense, but by the offense. I don't think the Steelers' defense is as bad as they're looking right now.
2nd and 8 for the Browns. Kosar, incomplete, off the hands of Metcalf, the intended receiver. Eric Metcalf, first-round draft choice, the son of Terry Metcalf, who was an all-pro running back with St. Louis and Washington. He held out and reported to camp late. How much does that hurt a rookie, Joe, in getting into the offensive scheme of things?
Well, you can't be comfortable if you're a rookie for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and here it is, the regular season starting. There's no way that Metcalf could grasp the entire offense and know it as well as he will in another month. Plus, in Metcalf's case, he has to learn the wide receiver position as well as the halfback position.
3rd down for the Browns, 3rd and 8 from the 12-yard line of the Steelers. 58 seconds left. Tough piece of running by Jones. He totes it inside the 10 down to the 8-yard line. Rod Woodson gets him down finally. Jones was hit behind the line, scrambled forward for a gain on the play. So a 4th down play coming up, and an injured Steeler. Down is Aaron Jones. Or is it Carnell Lake? Let's see.
Aaron Jones.
Either 97 or 37.
It's Aaron
Don't forget,
Jones.
at halftime, we'll have Bob Costas and O.J. Simpson with scores and highlights on NFL Live. It is Aaron Jones, the first-round draft choice of the Steelers last year, who is injured on the play. We'll take a break. 43 seconds left in the first half. Cleveland knocking on the door again. 27-0. We have 43 seconds left. Fourth down, and Barr is on to attempt a field goal, about a 27-yard field goal. Make it officially 28, and it's good. Matt Barr connects on another field goal, and the Cleveland Browns continue to pile up the points. Bud Carson, in his first game as a pro head coach, sees his team jump out to a 30-0 lead in the first half. As great as it's been for Bud Carson, it has been a nightmare for Chuck Noll and company.
Well, Pittsburgh didn't come out flat, Tom. They came out with some fire. They showed well on defense early on, but geez, those turnovers just nearly killed them and may have taken this game away from Pittsburgh. The turnovers normally indicate which team's going to win, and I just can't believe Pittsburgh's as bad a looking football team as or as bad a team as we see right now.
A lot of common coaching. Noll and the Browns. Bud Carson was the defensive coordinator of the Steelers. Jed Hughes and Hal Hunter going over to the Browns staff from that staff of a year ago. Radakovich and Taylor also coached at one time with the Steelers. And we asked the coaches of both sides if that would make a difference. And the Steelers people said, well, maybe in audibles it might make a difference, but generally the players will decide the outcome. And right now it's the Browns players that are deciding the game as Cleveland has taken a big first half lead. Jason Johnson gets to the 30-yard line of the Steelers. Tony Blaylock and Mark Harper cover him there. And Pittsburgh, with 35 seconds left, will have a final attempt to get something going in the first half. They've been held to, at last count, under 20 yards total offense. In the first two quarters of play, Brister has hit only 1 of 6 for 7 yards.
Two schools of thought now. Do you run the clock out, take your team in and regroup, or you give it a shot on the big one? I believe they have to go downfield. If they try to run the clock out now and regroup, these fans here in the stadium will go nuts. Got to take a long shot.
And he will. He completes it to Hodge. Hodge is going to try to get out of bounds and does at about the 47-yard line. That's a Steeler first down. Felix Wright knocks Hodge out of bounds. Clock stops at 26 seconds.
A long shot or a medium range shot will
Anything.
do. You know, that's right. Anything, get the ball going.
That's the best play of the first half for the Steelers.
Well, you wonder why it worked. The Cleveland defense certainly had dropped back to take away the deep pass. The linebackers got good depth that time, and they gave up the underneath pass.
Brister's second completion of the day. Scrambles and throws it behind the intended receiver. Stone was down there, and Brister, as he scrambled, threw the ball behind him. Stone playing wide receiver now, converted from a running back spot.
Stone has excellent speed. They say it's 4.25 in the 40-yard dash, their fastest player. And he hasn't been playing wide receiver, at least not often in the past. He'll have to have 4.2 speed to get downfield fast enough for this offensive line to give Bubby enough time to get it to him.
20 seconds left. Second down play for the Steelers. Brister sacked at the 40-yard line. Blaylock came on a blitz, and Brister is sacked for the third time in the first half.
The young pup got to Brister that time. You'll see from the left side of your screen, number 24 coming clean on the backside, we call it. And as we mentioned, Tony Blaylock is the young pup. At least that's how he's referred to by the dogs of that Cleveland defense. He had the starting position, actually, up until today, and I'm not sure he actually started the game. I saw Dixon in there in the second series, and I don't know where the Blaylock started. Tom, can you recall?
Well, we were told that Dixon would start at free safety, Blaylock at the corner, and then if things changed, Dixon would go to the corner, but it looked to us like Dixon was there from the outset. Well, we invite you to join us next Sunday for more great NFL football on NBC, starting at 12:30 with Bob Costas, O.J. Simpson, and NFL Live. And then we'll have the Steelers taking on the Bengals at Riverfront Stadium and the Jets against the Cleveland Browns. 4 o'clock game, Indianapolis at the Rams. Check the local listings for the game and time in your area. NBC football, a whole new ball game. 3rd and 18 coming up for the Steelers, who have not converted on 3rd downs in 4 tries so far in the half. Brister completes it across the middle. The pass is complete to Rodney Carter, who's thrown back by Clay Matthews as Brister signals for a timeout with 5 seconds left on the clock. Bubby Brister will come to the sideline, and you may know the story on Brister. After high school in Louisiana, he signed with Bear Bryant at Alabama, but instead chose to play professional baseball in the Detroit Tigers organization. As a matter of fact, played for the current Pittsburgh Pirates manager Jim Leyland in the Tigers organization. He left baseball after a pitch broke his thumb and then enrolled to play football first at Tulane, then wound up at Northeast Louisiana and finished 7th in the nation in passing in his only year as a starter at Northeast Louisiana. Was drafted in the 3rd round back in 1986. And as he described it yesterday to us, a bumpy road to get to a starting quarterback spot in the NFL. A bumpy first half also in the opener of the '89 season. Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator, though, said that each day Brister matures and he has a greater command of his game. He said in the last 6 games of '88 he was a big-time quarterback, and as he grew, he lifted the team with him. This is the last play of the half for the Steelers, drawing the penalty. And Brister throws it as far as he can. Up for grabs and intercepted by the Browns. Second interception of the first half. I think it was Mark Harper that came down with it. And the boos rain down as the Steelers head to the dressing room. The home opener has turned into a sour note here at Three Rivers Stadium before a sellout crowd. The Cleveland Browns dominating on both sides of the football. Halftime at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, and the home team suffering through a first half marred by mistakes as the Cleveland Browns open up a 30-0 lead. Joe, I think Cleveland was a 2-point favorite. We expected a close game. Nearly everybody did. What went wrong for the Steelers?
Well, it was obvious. The turnovers certainly opened the floodgates. We knew early on that Pittsburgh's offensive line would have trouble because of the injuries. But I don't think anyone envisioned the steals, by Dave Grayson taking the ball away from Louis Lips, by Mike Johnson taking the ball away from Worley, and then, of course, the fumble before by Worley. Cleveland has played a brilliant game. Pittsburgh's played, hopefully, their worst half of football that any of you Steeler fans will see this season. Bud Carson certainly has to feel good about his start.
And there's your second half kickoff as it's taken by Jason Johnson after he let it bounce a time or two. He gets it back to just the 10 or a little beyond, and the Steelers are backed up as they start the second half. A familiar refrain for the crowd at Three Rivers in this game anyway. Bud Carson in his first half as an NFL head coach, seeing his team pile up a 30-point lead. And they've done it really with good offense and good defense, although the defense set the tone early. Spot the ball at the 10. The Steelers have it with a first down. Bubby Brister, a ragged first half. The offensive line struggling. This is Worley, fumbles again. The 3rd fumble of the day for Tim Worley, and the Browns have it at the Steelers' 15-yard line.
Well, Worley is getting his feet wet here in the NFL. He's going to learn some lessons from this game. One's to hold on to that ball. You saw him hit up in that hole. Worley hit that hole beautifully. He hit it hard. Worley keeps driving, but he forgets to hold on to the ball. And his enthusiasm to try and get something going here, he just gets stripped of the ball by, who is that? That looks like Mike Johnson once again, number 59. We'll see another angle, and Mike Johnson, 59, will get his hand in there right here and just strip the ball away.
You know, Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator of the Steelers, said Worley in his first preseason game against Philadelphia was in shock. Maybe didn't realize the difference between college and pro. If he didn't then, he certainly does now. The 3rd fumble he's lost in this game. Browns with a first down from the Steelers' 15. Jones tries to turn the corner, gets only 2 or 3 yards. Hardy Nickerson managed to string the play out, and Brian Hinkle came in to help him get the tackle. Total domination in the game. The Cleveland Browns dominating the scoreboard and the numbers. And the big stat, the turnovers, 5 in the first half by the Steelers, including 3 that led to quick Cleveland points after each team had punted, I believe, on their first 2 possessions of the game.
Well, actually, it was 4, 5 turnovers. That last pass that Brister threw at the end of the half is no big deal, but the other 4 turnovers hurt the Steelers, no doubt.
2nd and 8 for the Cleveland Browns, trying to add to a 30-0 lead in the opening minutes of the third quarter. Kosar completes it to the 5-yard line. Again, he picks on the rookie Carnell Lake as Ozzie Newsome makes the grab. Newsome now with a catch in 144 consecutive games. That consecutive record, 2nd in NFL history, only to Steve Largent, who had 169, including a catch today.
Left side of your screen, you see 82 just breaking outside Carnell Lake. Carnell Lake's in good position, but Bernie Kosar put the ball right on the numbers.
Ozzie Newsome, who's headed for the Hall of Fame. He's been to the Pro Bowl 3 times. This is his last season. In his 12th year out of Alabama. And once he catches the ball, Joe, he holds on to it. He's gone now 506 consecutive possessions without fumbling the football.
I wonder how much it charged Worley for a little bit of information on how to hold on to that rock.
Well, they're both former SEC players. After the game, maybe you'll go over and give him a little tip or 2.
Sure. He won't tell them until after the second time they play.
They play again in Week 6 in Cleveland. First down. Goal to go from the 5-yard line. One thing we haven't had to worry about is the noise.
That's cold, Tom. That's very cold-blooded.
Manoah straight ahead, couple of yards. Nickerson makes the tackle in the middle of the Pittsburgh linebacking core with help from David Little.
We may hear that noise come up, Tom, but it might be a chorus of boos for their own team. That's a little bit tough to take. But
I wonder if there's a season ticket refund window here. Spot the ball at the 2-yard line, 2nd and goal for the Browns. Manoah, Cleveland touchdown. Well, the fans are hungry to cheer for something, and a lot of them cheered the Cleveland touchdown.
Well, I'll tell you, that may have been the worst defensive effort I've seen by these Steelers so far. When you see a running back hit that hole, get in there, standing up in the end zone against your goal line defense, there's something wrong. They've lost their enthusiasm, you might say. The Steelers are just, oh boy, I don't know whether they've fallen apart or what, but it sure does look like it. They've got to suck it up. They've got to get mean. Coach Noel wants to see them at least play this second half with some enthusiasm. Fight back. I mean, they don't want their faces rubbed into this artificial turf, and that's what's happening.
Barr adds the extra point. Again, a Pittsburgh turnover leads to Cleveland points. Tom Hammond and Joe Namath at Three Rivers Stadium. We thought this would be a close one. Shows you what we know. Here's Wagner ready for yet another kickoff. And Jason Johnson of the Steelers. 57,928 at Three Rivers Stadium. At least that's what we started with. Brister pass through the hands of Dwight Stone and incomplete.
Yeah, Bubby, I don't blame you. And I know Dwight Stone is upset too. Brister had the time, threw a perfect pass, but Stone forgot to hold on to it. I don't know. He could have heard some footsteps coming out of that secondary by one of those safeties. I saw Phoenix Wright coming up there quickly.
Joe, can this set the tone for a whole season? An opening game route like this, can this, in effect, ruin your whole season?
It could if you didn't have Chuck Noll as a leader or a coach that would know how to get these guys together. They're too good, I believe. They're professionals that are going to fight back. They'll play much better than this. Heck, they wouldn't be here in the first place if they played like this every week.
One thing for sure, they couldn't play much worse. Big Daddy Hairston sacks Bubby Brister, and he went right through the attempted block of the rookie Tom Ricketts.
Well, Ricketts has his hands full. If you look on the left side of your screen, actually the right side, Big Daddy just runs a nice loop around Tom Ricketts, and Ricketts couldn't quite get in front of him. He's got it right here in the middle of your screen. You'll see Big Daddy just running around number 71. Now, Rick, it's true, has a broken left thumb, and that may hamper him some, especially on that move. I'm not sure. It looked like Big Daddy whooped him that time.
4th sack of the day for the Browns. Flags down. That'll whistle the play dead. Well, that's been one of the highlights of the game so far for the Steelers, to have one whistle dead before the Browns could do any damage. That's how complete this route has been. False start against the Steelers. Craig Wolfley guilty of the false start. Chuck Noll, boy, as he talked about the enthusiasm for the coming season, the challenges, solving the problems yesterday. Man, he never expected this, I feel certain.
Not only 37-0, it's 3rd down and 27 yards to go for a first down from their own 5. Things aren't looking up.
And they haven't converted a 3rd down in the game. That one is intercepted. Intercepted for another Cleveland touchdown. David Grayson has his 2nd touchdown of the game. Earlier, he took the ball away from Lewis Lips, ran it in from 29 yards out. This time, he intercepts a pass off the hands of Merrill Hodge and rambles into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown, this one from 12 yards out.
Well, folks, you saw it. I mean, the ball is just going to go through Hodge's hands and into Grayson's. I'll tell you who this does make happy. David Grayson's daddy is here at the game, who was an excellent free safety for the old Oakland Raiders, San Diego team that I played against. He made the trip from San Diego, so his son is doing a heck of a job out there for him today.
Brister has had his 3rd interception. That one really wasn't his fault, off the hands of Merrill Hodge, as the Steelers had just fallen completely to pieces. And still 11-14 to go in the 3rd quarter. Wow. Where's the eject button? 44-0. It's 44-love Cleveland over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Wagner to kick again. Jason Johnson lets it bounce. He does it on the first hop. He works his way as the flag goes down. It was Woodson, excuse me, and not Johnson that time. Woodson finally tackled by Oliphant. And there's a penalty marker. 44 points, the most ever scored by Cleveland in an opening day game. The previous high, 41, against Philadelphia back in 1960.
I have to believe Coach Noll is just going to get this team now and say, look, let's go back to trying to run the football, do some blocking. We're 44 points down now.
99, illegal block on the return. First down.
44 points down. Let's see if we can see 99. I think he's the 3rd one on the left on the bottom. Oh, look what he's doing. He grabbed the guy. That's not fair. I think Pittsburgh's just going to have to establish some kind of running game. If they want to get out of this half, folks, they're not going to catch Cleveland. Go back to the basic stuff and save your players.
A lot of the fans have gotten out of this half. We're down to about half the capacity we began with, nearly 60,000. Hodge, like you said, Joe, just back to basics, and the basics not even working.
Well, I can understand Coach Noll wanting to find out these guys got the heart out there now. They're going to start blocking. I mean, they're not going to get fooled by the defense now. They know they're coming. The offense just wants to get some kind of continuity going. Just one drive, please. That's all the coach is asking for. That's all Coach Noll wants. One drive. Look like an offense.
Bubby Brister's completed 3 of 13. 3 completions, 3 interceptions for him today. That one knocked down right back to Brister, who's tackled at the 2.
Hey, when things go bad, buddy, they're going bad. I mean, Bubby probably did, well, look, I'm going to catch a pass. Let me gain some yardage. No, he takes a loss catching the pass, right? He almost got a safety that time. Gee whiz.
Michael Dean Perry was the man doing the damage this time, I believe, number 92 for the Cleveland Browns.
Big Bubba Baker on that left side, number 60, gets that big hand up there and knocks the ball back, and Bubby caught it. Now what do I do with it?
And Michael Dean took Brister down at the 2-yard line. Well, Bud Carson and everybody at Cleveland said the defensive line has been playing gangbusters in the preseason and in practice, and they've been the dominant force today. Took charge of the game in the first quarter. Brister completes one to Carter. Carter is to the 6-yard line. Rodney Carter on the 4th completion of the day for Bubby Brister. And Newsom will have to punt out of his own end zone.
We're seeing a team as flat as I've ever seen a team.
Newsom had a lot blocked last year. Coach Knoll told us yesterday they wish he kicked the ball a little higher as McNeil gets ready to receive the punt. That one is a rather low kick, but McNeil takes it with the flag down. He's at the 45 into Steeler territory and out of bounds at about the 47, run out there by David Arnold. We've got a flag down, a 49-yard Newsom punt that time, and not too high, but a sailing kick of 49 yards. Johnny Greer indicates a hold against the Browns. Kosar says, well, what difference does it make? Go ahead.
Hey, Tom, I'm surprised Kosar is in for this series, or will be in. I see a lead of 44-0. Mike Pagel is a good backup quarterback.
36 on the return team. We're penalized from the spot of the catch. First down.
Pagel's a good backup. I'm sorry, Tom.
Braggs was guilty of the hold. All right, we'll take a break right now. We have 8:47 left in the 3rd quarter. Bud Carson says this is easy. 44-0 with 8:47 left in the 3rd quarter. Still a few people here.
Yeah, the ones that don't have any place to go tonight. That's about it.
Just to add to the situation, there's a big heavy storm cloud right over Three Rivers Stadium now, literally and figuratively.
There's been one over the Steelers sideline this entire game.
Manoa gets the call for the Browns. Ernie Kosar still in their quarterback, as you pointed out. A bit surprising. Here's our 10-minute ticker. Kosar still on the field.
Yeah, I am surprised at that. You know, Mike Pagel's a good backup quarterback. He doesn't get a chance to work much at this stage of the year. Here's a whole quarter and a half, and I can see, or I think they should have Pagel in the game right now. Didn't see any upsets on that ticket, Tom. Have you?
Here are late starting games. I'm surprised Minnesota has that big a lead over the Oilers.
And the Jets are coming back against New England.
First unit still on the field for the Cleveland Browns. They lead it 44-0. Keith Jones, end zone Jones, with a first down run across the 45 to the 46, where he's tackled by Tim Johnson and Greg Lloyd.
Well, here we get a look at Bernie Kosar's head. You see how far his right foot is cocked back there. He feels like that helps get him away from center more quickly. And he doesn't get his right foot stepped on as much.
Did you ever have your feet stepped on by your own men?
Oh, man, every training camp I'd lose my big toenail every time, right foot and left foot. Sure, quarterbacks get them stepped on all the time by your own offensive lineman.
There's that staggered stance by Kosar, who, by the way, came into the game as the 6th active NFL passer with a rating of 84.5%. Two more scores to get your way. Jim McMahon not having a very good debut with the Chargers against the Raiders in Coliseum.
Look at that Miami Buffalo score.
That's a surprise.
I'll say.
Both the Raiders and the Dolphins were winless in the preseason and both leading in their opening season games. The Dolphins had looked very bad in the preseason. With Dan Marino, anything can happen. Second down play for the Cleveland Browns. Kosar hands it off. Jones goes to midfield. There's Eric Metcalf. Gerald Williams, the nose tackle. David Little, the linebacker, get credit for the stop. Metcalf has been used primarily as a wide receiver today. And he'll get some calls at running back, but I imagine they want to get him the ball in the open field. He's just not big enough to continually pound into the line. 5'10", 185.
No, but he's taken a lot of hits over the years. He's a strong running back. He's proven to be durable, that's for sure. That's
Eric Metcalf.
Preston was standing beside Eric, the offensive coordinator.
3rd and 6 for the Browns. Jones shook a couple of tacklers and lugged it into Steeler territory. Well, Eric Metcalf at the University of Texas was the Southwest Conference career all-purpose yardage leader with 5,700 in his Texas career, and his dad Terry was an NFL standout, an all-pro running back who played primarily for the St. Louis Cardinals and wore the same number as his son Eric. Terry, number 21, here in action for the St. Louis Cardinals. And you know, Eric, Joe, was also quite a track performer. Twice was the NCAA long jump champion.
Yeah, when I think of Terry Metcalf, I think in terms of sweet, pretty finesse. I mean, he always let his action do the talking, and he had more actions on that field than most running backs you'll ever see.
Wagner's punt was not a very good one either, partially blocked or shanked. Eric Metcalf, in his pro debut, has seen his Cleveland Brown team build a whopping lead over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Chuck Noll begins his 21st season on an extremely sour note. 4:42 left in the 3rd quarter. And the Browns so far showing no quarter, giving no quarter to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been their own worst enemy. First down with the ball on the 29-yard line of the Steelers. Brister's completed 5 of 14, 3 interceptions. Chased and dropped again. Another sack, I believe that's the 5th. Everybody getting in on the act. This time Andrew Stewart, the rookie out of the University of Cincinnati. And he beat the all-pro Tunchilkin.
Well, Tunchilkin has only given up 2.5 sacks the last 42 games. Right now, Bubby Brister can't find a receiver, and he's kind of scrambling out of the pocket. And that's how Andrew Stewart, the rookie, gets to him. Play just took a long time. It was good coverage downfield.
2nd and 27 now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And off to Worley. Worley, who's fumbled 3 times, has a few words with Mike Johnson, who made the tackle. He's got to be a frustrated young man. And over on the Cleveland sideline, Bud Carson, he said we're going to be a good football team when he was talking to us yesterday. It's just a matter of when we put it all together. Based on this performance, it's going to be sooner than he thought. Chuck Noll's team facing another 3rd down. They're 0 for 7 in that department today. Worley, in his first game in the NFL, 10 carries, 36 yards, 3 fumbles. Brister pumps once, completes it to Hodge. Hodge out of the backfield. Will be short of the first down across the 20-yard line. Well, Cleveland will get the ball. The blowout continues. The Pittsburgh Steelers have really not been in it since the first quarter. McNeil takes Newsom's punt at the 35 and just slides out of bounds about the 40-yard line. Newsom's punt covered 45 yards that time. David Johnson nudged McNeil out of bounds. Let's see if Bernie Kosar comes back out on this series for the Cleveland Browns.
Well, you know, Cleveland right now is in a great position with 44 points on the board, none to the defense. I don't expect Cleveland will show anything special for their upcoming opponents. They'll just stay with basic things this second half.
Don't forget, more football, week 2 of the season coming up next Sunday. The Steelers must go in to play the Bengals, and the Cleveland Browns will take on the New York Jets. You'll see them here on NBC. Barry Redden is in the game for the first time for the Browns, and Redden gets the handoff. Redden coming over in a trade from the San Diego Chargers with his first carry in a Brown uniform. Thomas Everett on the tackle.
Well, they felt like they needed a veteran to come here to Three Rivers Stadium. They weren't sure about Tim Minow and his health. He had been nicked up in the preseason, so they went for the proven veteran. And Redden, even though Redden doesn't have what you call fullback size, he's more of a halfback, but he can play that fullback position.
2nd and 5. Kosar still the quarterback. But as Joe pointed out, taking no chances, every play a running play the last couple of series. Metcalf. Stopped short of the first down by David Little. And a fight. Slaughter of the Browns fighting with someone, and there has to be a lot of frustration on the part of the Steelers, although I don't know who initiated this one.
Well, look at Bernie Kosar. He doesn't want Slaughter in there. Get him out of there. That's my top receiver, buddy.
Did you ever get in a fight?
Yeah, but not on a football field. Yes.
Here's Kosar wading right into the middle of the pileup as Woodson and Slaughter went after it, and now Slaughter tried to go back again after the fight had been momentarily broken up, and a flag goes down. Why would the Browns be out there fighting? You think they just laugh it off with a 44-0 lead?
Well, I didn't see what happened exactly, but Slaughter certainly is fired up.
I mean, just point to the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's all.
Johnny Greer.
We have offsetting personal foul. 26 Pittsburgh, 84 Cleveland. They're both disqualified.
Well, here you see Webster Slaughter throwing a punch into Rod Woodson's face mask, and Woodson trying to retaliate. I mean, they have helmets on. It's about stupid. To me, it's really a lack of discipline to see Webster Slaughter, any of these players, lose their cool out in the field. That's not a good example. I don't care how fired up you get. You're a professional. You have to have a certain amount of discipline, and that just shows a tremendous lack of discipline.
Woodson and Slaughter ejected from the game. Woodson's already taken off the jersey. Webster Slaughter was really angry. Almost tried to start the fight up again. Woodson, Joe, is developing into a fine cornerback.
Hey, he had a great exhibition season, but he was beaten badly twice today on stop and go patterns. I can understand how he's frustrated, but I didn't see him throw the first punt. But Woodson had a bad game today.
He did have a bad game. He had a lot of company, too.
All wearing black and gold.
Still 2:20 to go in the third quarter, in case you're interested. And they just announced that 74 is an eligible receiver. That's Paul Farron, who is normally an offensive tackle or guard, and is going to line up in a tight end spot, we presume.
Oh, for a minute I thought he was taking Slaughter's place.
Well, it would be interesting anyway. It's 3rd and 2, so we've got 2 tight ends in the game. Maybe 3, actually, if you count Farron. And the Browns do pick up the first down as Barry Redden just does get enough for first down yardage.
Good drive block by that time by number 68, getting up off the ground there. Ted Banker had a good visit with Ted. You know, he's with the Jets last year. You watch him, he'll be in the left guard position, and he fires straight out. Look at here, he gets across that line of scrimmage and hits David Little. And by that time, of course, Barry Redden has the first down. Had a good chance to visit with Ted's wife, Rose, yesterday, and they're expecting the second child, Tom. We had little Christopher over there at training camp, and we had a nice chat, and she surprised me, said she's going to have that second one in the off season.
Well, the rains are coming down now, clearing out what crowd we had left. We may be the only ones here when the game's over.
Now, these people really don't have anywhere to go. Or are they real die-hard Steeler fans? They're looking for a comeback.
You can't really see it on your screen, but it's coming down pretty hard now. Now you can get a better look at it. Well, you got to be die-hard to sit through this. 44-0 and in this rain.
I think they've changed their minds, Tom.
There's Bernie Kosar. Joe, what about the contrasting styles of Kosar and Brister, the two quarterbacks we've seen today? Brister, the kind of shoot-from-the-hip guy, and Kosar, the very analytical, into the 90s sort of quarterback.
The biggest contrast in their styles is one has a fine team to work with at this stage, and the other one's not getting any help at all. I mean, Brister has all the ability, physical ability and what, but he's not been getting any help from his offensive line. It's frustrating for Bubby Brister. He's not the analytical type quarterback that Bernie Kosar is yet. He's over there visiting with Mark Trestman, the offensive coordinator, along with Bud Carson. I'm surprised that Bernie is still in the game.
They've called a timeout, have the Browns, with 43 seconds left in this game. If you're just joining us, turnovers spelled the doom of the Steelers early in the game. It was 30-0 Browns at halftime. It's now 44-0 with 43 seconds left in the third quarter. Total yards 274 for the Browns and only 10 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bud Carson told us as a head coach he was going to devote a lot of time, at least at the outset, to the defense. And I don't know whether it's his scheme, his coaching, the players, or a combination of all those factors. But if this first game is any indication, the Cleveland defense will be among the best in the NFL.
Pittsburgh is just not as bad, I don't believe, as what we've seen today. I hope not, anyway.
Kosar in the rain. The Browns haven't turned the ball over today. Metcalf turns the corner. Out of bounds at the Steeler 40. There's a flag down. And in addition to the quarterback contrast today, we've seen two highly paid All-American first-round draft choices at running back, Worley and Metcalf. The penalty will be a hold against the Browns. And what a contrast in the games they've had. Worley,
80 offense. Good first down.
Vernon Joins, the rookie from Maryland, holding on the Browns. As I was saying, Worley has fumbled 3 times for the Steelers today, and Metcalf, while not having a spectacular first game as a pro, at least has made a couple of nice plays.
That's right. He sure has made a couple of nice plays, but tell you what, Worley, I think in the long run, you'll see, is going to pan out to be the workhorse and the big game, big playmaker that the Steelers are expecting him to be. But he needs help from that offensive line of the Steelers.
On a 1st and 17 play, Keith Jones gets the call. Keith Willis makes the tackle. We haven't heard much from Willis today, who is coming back after missing all of 1988 with a neck injury. They fused a couple of vertebrae. But he's back. He says he feels good, and they're starting the game today.
Well, you know, in the first quarter talk, Keith was back there in Kosar's face a couple of times, disrupting the backfield. I think he's going to have a good year. So he's certainly the best Steeler rusher, anyway, on a passing situation.
And we've reached the end of the third quarter. Even the band is heading home here at Three Rivers Stadium. That's the end of the third quarter. The Browns still pitching a shutout. The rain continues. The rout continues. 44-0 the Browns as we're ready to start the fourth quarter. And yes, we're still here. Not many of us left, but we're still here. What do the Steelers look for now? This one is literally a washout. What happens when the Steelers and Chuck Noll get together to look at this game film?
Well, I have to believe that Coach Noll is going to be very upset. It's one thing to fall behind, have some breaks go against you, be outplayed as the Steelers were in the first half, and then look like they almost quit. I mean, they didn't fight back hard enough this second half. They didn't show that they had any fire to regain any kind of momentum. So I think the biggest, one of the biggest things Coach Noll is going to be upset with is the second half of football that the Steelers are playing.
And for the Cleveland Browns, of course, this opening game should be something to build on for them. They had a few question marks, and this certainly will be a positive influence on the Browns as they get ready to prepare to meet the Jets next week. A lot of folks have thought that the Browns, who have been the dominant force in this division in the 80s, weren't quite be up to their normal standard this year, but perhaps off this opening game route, maybe they will be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC Central.
There's no doubt that defensive line has improved as far as getting some pressure back there on the quarterback. I know the Steelers' offensive line, with the injuries, isn't a great test, or hasn't been a great test, but Cleveland's defense in general has looked superb today.
Well, we're in the fourth quarter now, Joe, and Bernie Kosar is still in there, just handing off, granted, but still in the game, as Oliphant almost broke it for a touchdown. Knocked out of bounds, short of the 30-yard line.
Well, Oliphant hasn't had much of a chance this preseason, and now to show his stuff as a halfback, because, of course, he has Endzone Jones as Metcalf to contend with. But you look at this cut that he makes to get outside here. Look here, you see that? Nice little change of pace, and then he puts on some speed. That's all speed and some strength, too. Oliphant won't be running from that halfback position a lot, but it's nice to know that you have a man there that can make this kind of a play. I don't know why Kosar's still in the game. I said that a quarter ago almost.
Kosar is still in there as we begin the fourth quarter. Metcalf wrestled down by his jersey. Tim Johnson got a handful of number 21 and wrestled him down.
There's Mike Pagel in the ball cap walking along the bench area. Now this is, Mike's got a stronger arm than Bernie Kosar. He's not as accurate a thrower. He probably has as much control of that offense and command of it, but Kosar is something very special. But they don't miss a whole lot when Pagel goes in the game.
Looks like he might be getting ready to come in as he shed his raincoat, picked up his helmet. Run. He's got a first down inside the 25 of the Steelers. Wayne Woodruff had to stop Oliphant or he was going to make it to the end zone.
Oh, this is the kind of thing I know is just going to infuriate the coaches of Pittsburgh. I mean, sure, they're 44-0 down, but the defense has to show some guts, has to show some fortitude and get tough. They've got to have more pride than what they're showing out there right now.
You know, Oliphant's a pretty good story. He didn't play high school football. He graduated from high school. He was a welder and played some semi-pro football up in the Northwest. Finally decided to go to college at Puget Sound and set a lot of records there. Made All-American and now in the pros in his second year. First down from the 23. Metcalf spins for a couple.
Tackled by Lloyd.
At the end of the third quarter, we expect the domination of the Browns to be very evident, and it is. Look at the yards passing by the Steelers, minus 23 to over 200 for Kosar.
Well, I guess you would have to start thinking about the entire offensive philosophy of this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I mean, they're not doing anything with the passing game. Last season, they didn't do anything with the passing game. Maybe it's the entire passing game that's at fault. Quarterback prior to Brister, Mark Malone, certainly had a low completion percentage as well.
Draw play. Oliphant spins in for the touchdown. Mike Oliphant, 21 yards for another Cleveland score. They're all padding their stats today.
Oliphant just up the middle here. A little delayed draw. David Little, number 50, gets blocked by Manoan. Here you see Oliphant spinning and breaking tackles. Broke Lake's tackle and was able to get in the end zone. Darn good running by Oliphant.
Well, we have passed the half-century mark now, and Barr tries to make it one more as Oliphant gets the touchdown. Kick is good, and with 11:34 left in the fourth quarter, it's 51-0. We'll be right back to Three Rivers Stadium after these messages from your local station. The downpour continues at Three Rivers Stadium, and I'm not just talking about the weather, as the Pittsburgh defense dejectedly sits on the bench after a very, very long afternoon with still 11.5 minutes left. Dwight Stone's going to take a chance on a kickoff. There's been a lot of practice on the kickoff returns today. And Stone, who doesn't field it cleanly, has to down it in the end zone. Ray Wallace is in the backfield along with Rodney Carter for the first time for the Steelers as Brister completes a pass to Derek Hill. Hill, the rookie out of Arizona, and the few fans that are left cheer the loudest.
They're going to make a comeback. Well, you see, he's getting plenty of cushion up at the top of the screen from Blaylock. Hill has a good future ahead of him. These coaches really like him. Right now, Cleveland secondary is certainly going to give up those underneath completions.
Hill and Ouija Thompson now the wide receivers for the Steelers. Hill, the rookie third-round draft choice out of Arizona. Overthrown pass intended for Ray Wallace. See Brister with a little pat there for Craig Wolfley, his starting left tackle. And is it Brister's job now to try to salvage something out of this, to keep his offensive unit together?
Absolutely. He has fire. He should be showing a little bit more of that fire right now. You know, I'm surprised they haven't gone back to the shotgun. I mean, we saw the one bad snap by the center, and now Pittsburgh hasn't used the shotgun often since. I don't recall them using it again. And in this situation, you'd expect them to be using the shotgun more.
Brister is 7 for 17. He's had 3 interceptions. And almost had another sack. Got rid of it nicely to Carter. Carter caught and dropped at about the 36, 37-yard line. And another fight. Flags fly, and this is a good one. Michael Dean Perry was taking on all comers, and at one point he kicked somebody in the head. It was Chuck Lanza, the Pittsburgh center. We've already had a player on each team ejected. Woodson of the Steelers and Slaughter of the Browns. And this crowd reacting as if it were big-time wrestling.
A lot of frustration over there in the black and gold right now. I don't know who started this last little allocation, but I can understand how Pittsburgh's frustrated.
We have offsetting personal fouls. Number 60, Pittsburgh, 92 and 96, Cleveland are disqualified.
Well, the fans obviously didn't think it should have been offsetting. Brian Blankenship of the Steelers and Michael Dean Perry of the Browns become the 3rd and 4th players to be ejected from the game. At one point, I saw Perry kick somebody. Let's see if we can spot what happened. There's the kick. It didn't amount to much. Well, they're trying to get their money's worth out of the cheering today anyway. Blankenship and Michael Dean Perry thrown out, joining Slaughter and Woodson on the sidelines.
You know, I see Blankenship still trying to stay out there in the field. I don't know whether he's gotten the news yet, but he's still out there in the huddle. There he is. It appeared to me someone had Blankenship's face mask, and he got a little upset about that.
The Cleveland Browns have called a timeout, which stops the clock with 10:25 left in the game. Let's check some scores. Gives us a chance to update you on other opening day NFL action. Minnesota really putting it on the Oilers, a team many people picked to go to the Super Bowl this year and to be the AFC champion. Not so off that game anyway, although it's a long season, just the first of 16 weeks. So there's an update on the scores. We'll take a break right now and back to Three Rivers right after these words. Tom Hammond and Joe Namath again from Three Rivers Stadium. This one has turned ugly. Not only are the Browns leading 51-0, but we're in a driving rainstorm and 4 players have been thrown out for fighting. Steelers have the ball with a 3rd and 6 on their own 37-yard line. Here's the shotgun formation you called for. Brister's going to scramble. And throws it complete to the 40-yard line. Nope, they say he was out of bounds. No completion. Stone caught it out of bounds. So another punting situation for the Steelers.
Well, there's a flag down in the field, and that goes against Cleveland. Pittsburgh will have another chance. I'm not sure they want another chance.
Brister was across the line of scrimmage when he let the ball go.
Why not? They're down 51-0. I mean, they should allow him to throw it from anywhere on the field now.
It's getting a little picky, isn't it? I'm sure the Browns will decline the penalty and make the Steelers punt.
Bubby said that too.
As we take a look at that Cleveland defense, which has been superb today, pitching the shutout against the Steelers. We had a chance to talk to Frank Minifield yesterday. We'll get the call from Johnny Greer.
Illegal forward pass. Offense. It's a loss of down. 4th down.
So it is 4th down, and Brister to the sideline, Newsom to punt.
Do you think that haircut of Bubby's is going to become a fad, or
No.
no?
I think maybe the one of Metcalf. We haven't seen it today, but he has a lightning bolt shaped into his head. Newsom gets a good punt, which is down inside the 10-yard line. There's the Brister do. As we said, his mom said, please leave some hair this time. Last year at camp, he shaved it all off. 8 of 18, 48 yards, 3 picked off for Brister, who told us yesterday this was the biggest game of his life.
Well, you know, 2 of those interceptions, Tom, one went through Merle Hodges' hands, and the other was at the end of the first half. So actually, there was only 1 interception that Brister threw that, in my opinion, mattered. I can't tell you that Brister had a good game. I wouldn't dare say that, but certainly this 51-0 score isn't indicative of the way Brister has played.
Mike Pagel at quarterback now for the Cleveland Browns. Pagel replaces Kosar with 10 minutes left in the game. And it's a handoff up the middle to Redden. Barry Redden with the carry. I started to tell a story about Frank Minifield in our visit with him yesterday. There's a flag on the play, and it's against Cleveland. And his preparation for the game really took me by surprise. You think of cornerbacks being... penalty against Paul Farron of the Browns. You think of, there's 31 Minifield, of them being just very athletic. They just go out and cover. But he really had a very, very intricate preparation process, including using a computer to break down the films and to catalog tendencies. And this is what he said: when we hit the field, it's like taking a final exam, and we have all the answers.
And I think it's very good, certainly, what Minifield and the rest of his teammates are doing. All of the studying, we used to study a great deal, but we certainly didn't have computers. There was a lot of paperwork, a lot of film work. You know, another thing, these guys get to watch their performance and practices in color. We used to have to watch it in black and white all the time.
You had to wait to get the film developed, too, didn't you? Right now, it's on tape. You can look at it right away. And Minifield was telling us, instead of Friday getting the tendencies from the other team that they're going to play on Sunday, they get them now Wednesday because they put it in the computer, and the computer does all the busy work instead of doing it longhand, and they get a chance to practice it during the week.
Watch McNeil and Dalton Hall here in the center of your screen. Whoops. Let's see how McNeil reacts to that. There you go. Dalton Hall knows it's just a game.
Yeah, I don't know if he does.
Uh-oh.
21st season for Chuck Noll as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Metcalf is almost taken for a safety. They'll mark his forward progress, I believe, out of the end zone. Tim Johnson wrapped up Metcalf in a hurry and tried to haul him back into the end zone. Let's see where they spot it. Here again is Chuck Noll. Worst home loss was 34-0 in '86. Worst loss anywhere, 45-3. So this will be a history-making defeat for the Steelers under Chuck Noll. He told us yesterday we have a lot of changes in coaching and in defensive style, but he said the young kids they have on this team have assimilated the changes. At least he thought they had.
I want to change back.
Barry Redden gets maybe a tough yard. Brian Hinkle throws him back. it'll be 4th down for the Browns, who will have to punt from their own end zone.
Right there is Jed Hughes, the linebacker coach with the Steelers last year, to Bud Carson's right. And with the towel on his head is Ricky Feature, used to be the wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns, now in charge of player personnel. But Jed Hughes, the man on the left in charge of the secondary for the Cleveland Browns right now, still doesn't know why Pittsburgh decided to let him go. He is obviously doing a good job with this Cleveland secondary, and this was a pretty big homecoming for Jed, and you know he's got to feel good about this league.
Just off the top of my head, I think this is the first Browns punt since the first quarter. Taken by Johnson. Can't get outside. Mike Oliphant, who's had a good game, wrapped him up. Just a 37-yard kick. But Oliphant's done a good job offensively and on special teams today for the Cleveland Browns, who enjoy the big lead. I know there'll be a lot of people clamoring for footage of this one, so we'll remind you that this telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of the telecast without the express written consent of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the National Football League is prohibited. This game the property of the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, all rights reserved. First down for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Brown 26-yard line. Best scoring opportunity of the day for Pittsburgh, and the pass incomplete. Rodney Carter had a hand on it, couldn't pull it in.
Good pass by Bubby Brister. Carter, usually a reliable receiver, runs a little what we call fan pattern. You'll see him break to the top right of the screen. Brister puts the ball in the right place. Just that Rodney forgets to catch it. It's a good hit back there by Felix Wright, but certainly Carter should have made the catch.
He knows it. Second down. At least get some points. Brister sacked again, back at the 40-yard line. Clifford Charlton gets a sack. He beat Ray Wallace, the back who is held in to try to block. And for the 6th time today, the Cleveland defense gets a sack on Bubby Brister.
Well, this Cleveland defense right now would like to preserve a shutout. It's not often in the NFL that you can register those big goose eggs up on the board, and Cleveland would certainly love to have a shutout.
We talked to Chuck Noll about the youth on the team, starting 3 rookies today. He said a lot of our old guys are in the Hall of Fame. He said our draft was good, the previous overhaul didn't work, and how quick we developed the potential of these young kids is the key to success.
Well, what's that old story of saying you can lead a horse to water or whatever and you can't make them drink? They can show these Steelers all the place to run and give them all the X's and O's, but it still takes the people to go out on the field and do the job.
This is a 4th down play. Brister again has good time, and he finds his target inside the 20-yard line. Weegee Thompson gets his first reception, but he's going to be short of the first down, and the ball will go over to the Browns.
Mark Harper's down on the field. He is the one that put the hit on Weegee Thompson, but Harper appears to have the wind knocked out of him.
Mike Pagel is the Cleveland quarterback, replacing Bernie Kosar, who rang up some pretty good numbers on the opening game of 1989. Bubby Brister has not been quite so fortunate. He could have used a little help from his friends, as the Pittsburgh attack broke down completely, I would say. Bernie Kosar had a pleasant trip to Pittsburgh.
In the 4th quarter,
Kosar is an interesting study, as you mentioned, very unorthodox in his delivery of the passes and his ability to escape the rush. And there's a theory that most quarterbacks were always the best athlete on their team, and they got things done by sheer superior athletic ability. Bernie Kosar was not the best athlete growing up in youth football and so on, so he developed these ways, devised these ways, improvised these ways of getting the job done, and it served him well as he rose to the highest level of football.
It certainly has served him well, but one thing we shouldn't overlook and that's the basics. Bernie Kosar will throw the ball sidearm, three-quarter arm, but he also knows how to throw the ball from over the top, too. He has the unique ability of changing his throwing motion many times throughout the course of the game, but his basics are good. So you youngsters at home, when you see Kosar do the things he does, don't try to emulate him just yet. Learn those basic things first, the correct footwork and the correct release a little bit higher. When you get to be 6'5" like Bernie and know football as well as he knows it, then you can make those adjustments.
We saw Mark Harper leave the field, apparently not seriously injured. Very Redden. Good run by Redden to the 30 and enough for a first down. Check out the other scores now. Delton Hall making the tackle for the Steelers. Here are the games in progress, or we'll start with the finals. We'll start with the finals from the 1 o'clock games today.
San Francisco, of course, had to win at Indianapolis.
Eric Dickerson went over 10,000 yards in that game in a losing cause.
Phoenix at Detroit. Now look, oh my goodness, New England did beat the Jets after losing 3 first stringers, and I can't believe Minnesota scored 38 points on Houston.
Look what the Raiders are doing to San Diego, 40-14. Metcalf to the 32-yard line, stopped there by A.J. Jenkins, the rookie out of Cal State Fullerton. He plays both on the defensive line and at a linebacker spot. Does this remind you of the elder Metcalf, Terry?
Well, I can see a lot of quickness there, very much similar to Terry, but I don't know. I don't think he is quite as quick as the old Terry Metcalf that I remember. Now, he was something special. I know this young Eric Metcalf, we're expecting a lot from him, but we know for sure that Terry Metcalf was very special, and Eric is going to try to show that he is also. He's not there yet.
Mike Pagel has not yet attempted a pass as the Browns are content to just keep the clock going. It's down close to 4 minutes now. There's Mike Pagel. Pagel, in his 8th year out of Arizona State, came over to the Browns in a trade with the Colts in '86. He had been a 4th-round draft choice of the then Baltimore Colts back in 1982. Started 47 games for the Colts and is just some 1,600 yards shy of the 10,000-yard mark in his passing career. Last year, remember, started 4 games for Kosar when Bernie was injured, and then he was injured himself, making a tackle, as I recall.
Yeah, that's right. On an interception, he hurt his shoulder as he stretched out to try to make a tackle up at Cleveland against Seattle, I believe.
Pagel does have a pretty good arm. In fact, he was an outfielder on the Arizona State National Championship baseball team.
Strong arm.
In fact, he set 7 passing records when he was with the Sun Devils of Arizona State.
Yeah, I look at these Steelers, I can't help but remember what Coach Paul Bear Bryant at Alabama used to tell us about losing. Say, fellas, you know, when you lose a game, you go home, your girlfriend just isn't as pretty as she used to be. The food just doesn't taste as good as it used to take. Well, right now we have a lot of Steelers that aren't going to have big appetites, and there's no telling what the girlfriends are going to look like tonight because things are really bad at 51-0.
Wagner to punt on 4th down for the Browns. End-over-end kick taken at the 25-yard line by Johnson. Johnson out of bounds, a 39-yard kick. Tackle made by Vernon Joins on special teams. Well, Joe, we started the day by talking about the 2 coaches in this game. Chuck Noll, who had been under fire last year with only a 5-win season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming back and facing one of his old assistants, Bud Carson, in his first year as the Cleveland Browns coach. Carson, when we talked to him yesterday, appeared to me a little uncertain about what would happen today, and I think his questions have been answered, and Chuck Noll certainly has twice as many questions today as he did yesterday.
Well, Bud Carson, the old Freeport, Pennsylvania native, seemed a little nervous to me yesterday at our meeting last night. I know that this is a big game for him, and I know that he felt that pressure coming into this game, but boy, what a major relief the score is for him. Oh, boy, another fumble.
Picked up by the Browns. Derek Hill fumbled it, and it was picked up by Thane Gash, and Brister said, I can't believe it. his worst nightmares have come true.
Well, Derek Hill does a good job of getting open, does a good job of catching the ball, and then it gets jarred loose. Let's see if Derek Hill loses it on his own, or does somebody come in there and stick a headgear on it? Whoop, that left hand right there. Number 40 got his hand in there, Kyle Kramer, a rookie defensive back for Cleveland, to knock the ball loose.
And another rookie, not a rookie, but a second-year player, Thane Gash, lugs it back upfield. That's the 5th fumble of the game for the Steelers. They've also had 3 interceptions, 8 turnovers, and that just about tells the tale right there. Looks like they're going to review it on instant replay to see if the ball came out before Hill was down.
Well, they got a lot of nerve holding this game up. Woo! Get the hook, give the ball. Well, let somebody have the ball. Let's forget about the replay, huh? Well, let's see. You judge for yourself. Is he? No, he's not down before that ball hits. I'll tell you what, I was looking over my notes, Tom, and in the preseason, you know, that instant replay rule was enforced only 4 times out of 59 games they had reversal.
There's the replay booth. The replay official today is Al Sabato.
4 reversals in 59 games. That's not bad. That's good officiating.
Well, we got a moment. We want to thank our spotters, Tim Fogarty and Mike McGinley, and George Jordan and John Rooney on stats.
The play stands. First down, Cleveland.
So the 5th fumble of the game for the Steelers stands. 8 turnovers to none for the Browns.
I wonder if that's approaching a record.
The Browns already have scored the most points ever in an opening day game. And Chuck Noll is about to suffer his worst defeat ever in 21 years as a head coach.
8 turnovers to 0. I mean, I've never heard of one like that.
Chuck Noll. 4 Super Bowl wins, and this what his 21st season begins with. A 51-0 score against 2-minute warning. Back at Three River Stadium, mercifully, only 2 minutes left in this one. 51-0, the Cleveland Browns, who built a 30-0 lead at halftime and have coasted to victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just a shadow of the team of the 70s here today.
Tunch Yoke in there wondering what went wrong. Well, there are 8 turnovers to none for one thing, Tunch. Greg Wolfley, starting left tackle of the Steelers, may be wondering what went wrong, but I think he knows. I mean, he started all 16 games last year for the Steelers at left tackle. Very versatile player, but I don't think in his career he's had this kind of a game by his team. I mean, a 51-0 licking.
This will be the 7th consecutive win by the Browns over the Steelers. And until 3 years ago, they'd never won a game at Three River Stadium. But now they've won 7 in a row. Cleveland has sacked Pittsburgh 6 times. They've recovered 5 fumbles and intercepted 3 passes. Metcalf. He's inside the 20-yard line. You know, there might have been a few hard feelings when Bud Carson left the staff of Chuck Noll after helping them gain those great Super Bowl victories and went to be the defensive coordinator with the Rams. And we asked Carson and Noll if there were any hard feelings left, and they said no, not anymore. But at the time, perhaps things were a bit touchy.
Well, you know, coaches develop close relationships with one another for the most part, and you know, there's a certain camaraderie, and when another guy gets a job offer and has to leave, or feels like he has to, certainly the guy that stays still slighted a bit, like left it. And Coach Noll did. The last 2 exhibition games, Cleveland looked horrendous, and the players had to be wondering, what is this staff going to do for us? I mean, we made the playoffs the last 4 years in a row. We've won a lot of games, and here we are playing poorly. Well, I think now that the team's going to have full confidence in Bud Carson's staff.
Browns will just kill the clock. And to the relief of all, this one will come to an end. 8 turnovers today by the Pittsburgh Steelers help seal their demise as Bud Carson, in his first game as an NFL head coach, waves to Chuck Noll and celebrates a victory as the Browns overwhelm Noll's Pittsburgh Steelers. The biggest victory in Cleveland opening game history and the worst defeat in Noll's career. The final score, Cleveland 51, Pittsburgh nothing.